I should probably explain that right out of the gate. So we recently had a charitable basketball game that was done in partnership with a student program at Windsor High School. And it was a contest between our first responders, combination fire and our CMP, versus the senior boys basketball team and senior girls basketball team mixed together. And it was a fantastic evening, went into overtime, but unfortunately, I was the coach of the, unfortunately, I was the coach, no, I was the coach of the Windsor senior team, and Mayor Buchanan was the coach of the first responders team. And we made a little bit of a bargain beforehand that whoever's team should prevail would, the other team had to wear the winner's jacket. I had offered my 1990 Windsor Dukes satin finish track jacket to Mayor Buchanan to wear, and but unfortunately my team did not win. And so today I am sitting in a City of North Vancouver jacket for the start of the meeting as a punishment, but I think the real winners are the charitable groups. That the $2,500 that was raised during the event are going to go to charitable groups supported by the District North Vancouver Fire Department and RCMP. They've identified some charities to support. And we look forward to running these kinds of events. It was student run. So the students all, as a part of one of their classes, took opportunities to identify sponsors, come up with a budget for the event, get some concessions sorted out, and obviously deal with ticket sales to get the event going. So it was done as a learning experience for the youth as well. But yes, I do have to take a formal picture. I'm going to have Tracy come on down here. And, I've already sent it to her. And we'll get a proper picture for Mayor Buchanan. You're probably going to have to be in close. She's really going to want to see this. Yeah. We'll make sure the CIO doesn't have a hot mic going forward. Okay, and I'll keep it on for a little bit, but the bet wasn't that I have to wear it the whole meeting, but we'll make sure we get through the start of the meeting and move on to the regular business before I sneak out for a change up. But at this point, I will start our regular meeting. This is our community's house. We are all guests in it here to serve our community. My name is Mike Little, Mayor of the District of North Vancouver. And so the pleasure falls to me to welcome you all here to our regular meeting of council for Monday, May 5th at 7 o'clock. We like to start off our meetings in a good way. And so I've asked Councillor Ma if he would read our land acknowledgement.
Thank you, Mayor Mike. We respectfully acknowledge the original peoples of these lands and waters, specifically the Tsleil-Waututh, Squamish, and Musqueam, on whose unceded ancestral lands the District of North Van is located. We value the opportunity to learn, share, and serve our community on these unceded lands.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ma. Council, we have an agenda that's been circulated. Are there any errors or omissions from the agenda as presented? Hearing none, will someone move its adoption? Moved by Councillor Back, second by Councillor Murray. Call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Council, we have several sets of meeting minutes that have been included in the package from the March 3rd regular council meeting, April 7th regular, April 14th special, and April 22nd special. Are there any errors or omissions from these meeting minutes as presented? Hearing none, it's been moved by Councillor Muir. Is there a seconder on the matter? Second by Councillor Back. I'll call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. We reserve a period of up to 30 minutes at the front end of our regular meeting of council for matters of interest to community members. And so we start out with a sign-up sheet through our clerk's department. And so double check in how many we have here. So we have 4 people who have signed up to speak 2 items on the agenda and then 2 to speak to non-agenda items. So we will have some time for additional speakers if there are additional speakers, but I'd like to call Alice Hambleton up to the microphone. I should say this meeting is being held in a hybrid fashion. That means members of the staff, the public, and optionally the council, although everybody is here in person today, can participate in this meeting either in person or virtually. And so some of the members of the public that are participating may be on our dial-in system. At this point, welcome Alice Hamilton. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. I live at 3420 Mount Seymour Parkway. I was born and raised here, Windsor Dukes.
Very nice.
I'm speaking against the sale disposition of the 2 district green space buffer lots in the 3300 block Mount Seymour Parkway and against the Gaspe Place Lane purchase and closure. These 2 district lots in the lane are selling for about $5 million market. What is the benefit to the taxpayer and the residents who live here? If the district green space lots are to be sold, they should be sold for market rental or social housing close to the bus routes. There are 6 district green space lots in the 32 to 3500 blocks Mount Seymour Parkway on the north side. The district is partnering with private interest developers to sell off the last of our lower elevation district lots for money. But the district is putting the money into an affordable housing fund to buy lots in the town center. Why would they do that? It's way cheaper to use district lots where they already are for affordable housing. Now that things have changed since Bill 44 and public hearings are no longer required for developers, everything has opened up for even more unregulated development in the district. Even if the developers get the density, they can do it in a way that doesn't have such a negative impact. And so it's important that the council use their discretionary powers to minimize the negative impacts from these new developments now and in the future. And these little islands of green space are going to become even more important. The policies must be very clear, sending a strong message to developers that we are trying to retain the form, character, and quality of life of neighborhoods. According to the OCP, if they want to develop, they're going to have to come up with certain types of greenway protection and building around healthy big trees. There should be bylaws in place that any developer is not allowed to harass the neighbors next to their proposed developments or use invasive lighting or audio-video surveillance aimed at windows and doors, violating privacy. The planner mentions closing down the Gaspe Place footpath in the agenda package, page 140, which runs along the lane allowance district public land at the eastern end of Gaspe Place cul-de-sac. This little pathway that's only about 2 feet wide has hardly any impact on nature, and the path has been there for almost 40 years. This mischaracterization of the natural path and the few Gaspe Place residents who use it is out and out false and is a red herring. The district is paying lip service to the input of residents and paying lip service to the caring about the sensitive path and green space. The district has manufactured a false rationale to justify what they're already planning to do. The district wants to close down the path because the plan is already proposed by the 3400 block developer. The district intends to sell another district green space lot, destroy the only remaining old growth fir tree in the area, which is partly on district land, destroy half the little forest, and pave the lane allowance where the path is. I'm disappointed that the district planners are accommodating private interest developers by selling off our green space lots, lane allowances, and small community forests, which are far more valuable to the residents and taxpayers who live here than the money the district will ever get for it. It's time that the councillors stand up for the rights of the residents who elect them. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. And they have changed the name from the Windsor Dukes to the Windsor Wolves. So I'm afraid my old jacket won't match anymore. The next speaker I have is Christy Kramer. And just to be clear, so we don't allow cheers and boos and claps in our council chamber. We want to make sure that everybody feels welcome to share opinions, even if they're not popular sometimes. And so we ask that you please hold your applause or boos or cheers. So please welcome when you're ready. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you. Thank you. My name is Christy Suzette Kramer. I reside at 3386 Gaspe Place. I'm here with my husband, Wahid Gol, a contractor and longtime resident of North Vancouver, and our son, Joseph, who's in grade 3 at Vancouver Waldorf School. We live as renters in a beautifully solidly built home slated for demolition within the proposed development. I thank you for your invitation to speak here, and I'm grateful for your generous witness. Last night, I went to sleep to the sound of frogs chirping in a gentle darkness and quiet. Quiet that is amazingly rare these days, but that because of where we live, I cherish every night. This morning, I woke in great gratitude to magnificent birdsong. It was really beautiful, I tell you. It's remarkable how many species make this small plat of land home. There was even a duck in the yard. In fact, this afternoon, there were 3 that flew right over our heads. As renters, we inherited a well-loved established garden of trees to which we've added our own significant vegetable gardens. That this choice is available is a great blessing given the cost of living. We anticipate we will save a couple $1,000s on groceries this summer. That's true. Not to mention the well-being we receive just getting out in the dirt each day after school on our knees in the garden. Our backyard is buffered by the surrounding green space, a great diversity of almost entirely native plants and huge, wonderful trees. The health of the small woods is an expression of natural wilderness, an ecosystem that is home to many, many creatures. We've seen deer, bear, coyote, woodpecker, all kinds of hummingbirds, chickadee, and so many other gorgeous birds whose name I have yet to learn. And I ask that you please acknowledge that this is something you care about too. All of this, with the proposed development as it is, will be gone, simply and irretrievably gone. There is no way the proposed development would sustain the life currently there. A golf course and patches of grass lining sidewalks won't. There is no way the proposed development would sustain the life that currently thrives. I'm going to skip a bit. So I ask that we please slow down. I understand you work to balance the need for housing with rapid growth. If the argument is that the development will provide housing for families who wish to live in this area, if your goal is to build healthy, financially sustainable housing, we are proof that the development in large part is counter this goal. Our neighbors like us, working families with relatively modest means, will be displaced. The house across the street, for example, which is also slated for demolition, currently provides an affordable home for 2 young families. This is one house. I do not know of anyone living in the neighborhood presently who willingly wants to leave or who would possibly be among the demographic likely to move into the proposed townhouse. The diverse community which has grown organically will be gone. Simply, we will be pushed out.
If you could draw to a close, please.
Thank you. That this February, the entire backyard was full of purple crocus and buzzing with pollinators, bees that are a keystone species, might seem an insignificant thing in the scheme of things.
If I could have you draw to a close, please.
But it is the preservation of this life that I assert is most important. When Joseph was 5 years old, he told me, "Mama, there's going to be another extinction,
Sorry,
and
but
it
it
is
doesn't
us."
seem like you're drawing to close, so.
I have one sentence left, and I will.
Okay.
I'd like to push. So my son Joseph, when he was 5 years old, said, "Mama, there's going to be another extinction, and it's us." I'd like to push that probability off a ways. Why I'm here on a busy day,
Thank you very
respectful
much
of
for
all
your
of your
presentation
time,
this evening.
is so that he may see the possibility of hope and action.
You've obviously come here with the intent of going way beyond the time. You're well over the time. You can leave your speech in the black tray. We'll circulate it to the council, but that's not the purpose of this.
Sure.
Thank you very much.
I'm grateful, and I'm
Next
sorry.
speaker that we have is Peter Teven. And I'm guessing Mr. Teven is joining us virtually. Just want to clarify that we can move him over as a panelist. Okay, Mr. Teven, I can see you through the system here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Can you hear me okay?
I can. I'll ask that you speak nice and loudly into the microphone. You are coming in a little bit soft.
Okay, I'd like to share my screen if that's possible, please.
Yes, please go ahead.
And can you see what's on my screen?
Trillium proposal, yes.
Great, thank you very much. Okay, good evening, Your Worship and Council. Peter Tevan, 1900 Block Indianburg Crescent. I'm also the Vice Chair of the Seymour Community Association, and I've been asked to convey just one simple message from the Community Association to Council on this project proposal, and that is that they're concerned about the impact of parking on the local area. Most of the details around this are more my own, so I will say that I'm now speaking for myself and not necessarily for the Community Association from here on. The current proposal is for 46 residential units. There's 71 parking stalls and 6 reserved for visitors. So that's a ratio of 1.41 stalls per unit. If you count the lock-off suites that are included as occupied, that will drop the ratio to 1.16 stalls per unit, and the average size of each unit is 1,336 square feet. If you look next door, we have the Northlands Terrace development, which was completed in 2013. That one is 60 residential units, and it has 120, if I recall correctly, resident parking stalls, which is a ratio of 2 per unit. I was unable to get from planning staff today what the total square footage is, or to tell you the size of the average dwelling in that development. But the thing that's important that we noticed in the neighborhood immediately following the completion of Northlands Terrace was this. Each evening, there's about 15 extra vehicles that spill out of Northlands, and they're parked along parking areas on Apex and along the Parkway. And some time ago, I did a little math and said, okay, well, if you add the 15 extra units to the 120 that are on the site, come up with 135. It seems that the appropriate parking ratio in this neighborhood is 2.25 stalls per residential unit. I think that you, council, know better than I do that every time transit is upgraded on the North Shore, it generally means an improvement in the city of North Vancouver and cutbacks in Mount Seymour Parkway. We cannot look to transit to solve the problems of cars. So if this proposal goes ahead as proposed, what we could see, and I'm working the ratios back, if there's 2.25 cars per unit, we could easily see an extra 61 cars spill out of this property and be jammed somewhere on area streets. That's a lot of cars. Now, my recommendation is to build the number of units here that you are able to build parking for. So option A would be to add more parking, which is always problematic design-wise. But that would mean you take it up to 126 stalls. Option B would be you could feel free to keep the same square footage, but reduce the units to 29. And that way we would have a ratio of 2.25. And the average square foot of each unit would be about 2,100 square feet, which is, luxurious, but not, not
Mr.
ridiculous.
Teven, we're over 30 seconds over. If you could very quickly draw to a close.
Great. The last point I want to make is about the proposal to sell public assets here. Those of you who have seen me speak before council before know that
I'm sorry, Mr. Teven, you are over time. I do need you to draw to a close very quickly, and I'll explain why in a minute.
I'll do that very quickly. Bottom line, I object to first, second, and third reading being rammed through all at once. And this matter deserves public scrutiny and discussion. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Mr. Teven, if you're still on the panel there, have you shared your presentation with the council electronically?
I will do so.
Thank you so much. Okay, and just before I go on to Mr. Cook, this has come up a couple of times now. I just want to address this issue. I don't like cutting people off and being harsh on these things, but the provincial government has moved from 5 years ago, where we were required to have public hearings on these, to making public hearings optional, to making public hearings illegal. And a number of municipalities have gone so far as to say, on days when those proposals are being considered, in order to not have something accidentally become a public hearing, they've banned input on those items on the night that they're being considered. So if this was another municipality, you wouldn't even be able to talk about it. And so the reason why I'm being pretty tight on the time on this is I can't have this look like a public hearing. Otherwise, I'd be running sideways with the provincial legislation. So if it may sound harsh, there's a very specific reason for it. And so I just appreciate your patience on the matter. The next speaker we have is David Cook. Welcome. When you're ready, you have 3 minutes to address the council. Are you comfortable with the hookup there? David? Fantastic.
How does this work?
Make your presentation full screen and, but we do have another presentation up. Are they both? If you double click where it says Gaspe Place PPT, I'm sure that's probably your presentation.
All I'm going to show are these two.
If you just want to put those on the overhead camera, we can do that.
Where do you put? On here?
A little closer to you. There you go. That's pretty good.
Okay, this is going to be really short. Good evening, Mayor Little and Council. My name is David Cook. I'm a biologist, retired. I reside at 1788 Emerson Court, North Vancouver. I am a director of the Old Growth Conservancy Society and the Lighthouse Park Preservation Society, both old growth forest parks in West Vancouver. I have been involved with old growth ecosystems since the year 2000. That's 25 years. I wish to make you aware that a tree in the forthcoming 3400 block development, which is indicated by the red dot at Gaspe Place, is an old growth Douglas fir and therefore should be preserved at all costs. How did I identify this tree as old growth? From the very irregular pattern of its branches, a feature known as reiteration or the duplication of existing patterns of the canopy to increase photosynthesis. The result of this behavior is for branches to become irregular and distorted in appearance. And the left-hand picture is the tree itself. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation, David Cook. Okay, next on to non-agenda items. The next person signed up to speak is SK Lai. Welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to speak.
Sounds good. So, Your Worship, councillors, SK Line 577 Shannon. First and foremost, I do thank you for giving me the time. And I've been looking for an opportunity to speak to you all since late last year. And I've been dealing with the district regarding two items, the bylaw or the zoning bylaw and the traffic bylaw. And I have to say that I have been quite frustrated with the staff all the way to the top for the past 2.5 years. Now, I've written to many emails to the district, and in fact, some been copied to you folks as recently as last week. And the latest reply from our CAO concerned me and my wife bigly. So the reason why I have started coming to your meetings, and pretty much every single one becoming a fixture, kind of like Jeff, and speaking to you tonight is mainly due to my frustration. Now, I know you got a long list of items for tonight, so I'm trying to make it quick, and then I'll leave. The last Tuesday, April 29th, shortly after 1 p.m., 3 bylaw enforcement officers and escorted by the District of North Vancouver Detachment LCMP officer in the cruiser. I was served with a ticket and I accepted it. And I left and I came right up to District Hall and disputed. And about 30 minutes later, I returned to my home and tow truck came and claiming that they want to take my retirement vehicle away. Now, I had a long chat with the LCMP officer, Scott, and I also reminded the bylaw enforcement officers that I am waiting for the adjudication process. Now, the LCMP looking at it and do not believe that towing is required. Now, the towing company at that time too has some major concern because of the expense or damages to the vehicle if it's towed. So I'm going to make it short right now because, you know, it's a long speech and I know you got lots of things to go on to. I have actually emailed you this earlier today, and I'm not sure that you actually have a chance to read it. What I'm actually asking you folks to do is that either you send in the technical unit next time, or if you don't believe that is our society, and with the process being pushed forward, I'm just asking the district to back off and allow the due process to take place called adjudication. So thank you, and I don't want to take up any more of your time.
Mr. Stewart, do you have a comment? Nope. Okay. Yeah. No, well, I will just say, Mr. Lai, I mean, in our view, the vehicle is in contravention of our bylaws, and until you move the vehicle to somewhere where it is not in contravention of our bylaws, you can expect escalating enforcement action on the space. And
So, Your Worship,
I understand there is a
I accepted that I might be all wrong.
Yeah.
Okay. But I'm asking for due process. And do you know Chapter 60, under the provincial law, you need to go through those steps. And this step right now is called adjudication.
That doesn't mean that other actions entirely stop.
No, sir. You also seen, like, the CAO quoted that the neighbors dislike the contravention. Now, hang on. If that's what you're asking me to do, just last week, just feet away, there are actually multiple vehicles parked over the boulevard, and they didn't do that the first time. They've been doing it for the last many years, and yet there is no zero and like there's no enforcement while that gentleman asked for daily ticketing.
Thank you very much for coming out today. Appreciate your comments on the matter. Okay. The next speaker that I have is Eric Anderson.
Good evening, Mayor Little and members of the council. My name is Eric Anderson. I live at 2589 Derbyshire Way. I'm here only to introduce the chair and vice chair of the Blue Ridge Good Neighbor Day Planning Committee, Elmira Nazar and Ina Miller.
Welcome.
Like everybody said, my name is Ina, and alongside my friend and neighbor Elmira, I'm proud to serve as chair of the Blue Ridge Good Neighbor Day Planning Committee. Elmira is our co-chair, and together with a small group of volunteers, we've been working hard to make this year's celebration extra special. On Sunday, May 25th, we'll gather at Blue Ridge Elementary from 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. to mark the 25th anniversary of our much-loved community tradition.
We've got over 40 community tables set up, local businesses, service groups, and neighbors showcasing everything that makes Blue Ridge unique. There'll be a silent auction to raise money, to raise funds, live music to keep us dancing, delicious food and drinks, and plenty of activities for the kids, including face painting, crafts, bouncy castles, and more. But the real highlight is simply this: neighbors coming together. It's about catching up with old friends, making new ones, and celebrating the spirits that bind us.
So we would be honored if you could join us to tour the tables, meet our vendors, and enjoy a celebratory cupcake. And we thank you for your ongoing support of our community, and we hope to see you and the sun on May 25th. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for your volunteer work, and also congratulations on 25 years. It's an incredible milestone. My favorite part of that event is always the bike parade and everything that they do leading up to it. So you'll definitely be able to find me along the parade route again. But thank you for your introduction today and for commenting on it and raising awareness of it. The next speaker I have is Hazen Colbert joining us virtually. Mr. Colbert, over. And then after Mr. Colbert, I have a T. Dosa on as a virtual participant. And then I think after that, we've probably rounded out our public input time. Just checking in, Mr. Colbert, can you hear me?
Yes, I can, Mayor Little. Can you hear me?
Yep, there you are. Yep.
Right.
Welcome. When you're ready to go, you have 3 minutes to address the council. You're nice and loud directly into the microphone, please. It was a little hard to hear you there.
Well, that's because you interrupted me. Now, Mayor Little, earlier tonight you said that there is an issue with respect to people that speak to a development application at a council meeting where that development application is being heard. And you expressed concerns about that situation. And I would like to tell you that I have been involved in such a situation. An attempt was made to stop me from speaking. I challenged the person to stand down. If they did not stand down, I made it very clear I would self-defend using my skills and my training in the use of force continuum. They stood down, and what they decided to do was the best thing was they took the development application off the agenda. That's apparently what is required if someone decides to speak at a public input on an agenda item, which is a development application. This took place some time ago. There have been no repercussions from it. I didn't speak again, and I assume that I was correct because no one's told me differently. The next thing I would like to say is I am very, very disturbed to hear from Mr. Lai that he is being threatened and harassed by the RCMP of all people who clearly have nothing better to do, which I've been saying for 16 years since I've moved here, as well as the bylaw staff, because apparently he has a recreational vehicle parked on the road. Really? Really? We're living in a world where there's an idiot living south of us who has threatened to take over the country. Our CAO earns almost $500,000 a year. We don't know what he does. The world is in a terrible, terrible shape. And what are we worried about? That a retired person is parking their retirement vehicle on the road. This does not appear to be a serious matter that requires the intervention of the RCMP and bylaw officers, especially considering the good Mr. Lee has said it's going to go to arbitration or adjudication. He has properly triggered the process to resolve the problem. Why harass him? Just leave him alone. That's all we want to do. People like us that have things like RVs, just leave us alone. Go back to fixing things like, go back to stopping the building of affordable housing in the Seymour, which Lisa Murray wants to do. Go back to kissing the arses of the favored Indians, which Jim Hansen wants to do. Go back to building the bike lanes, but leave good people alone. It's not that difficult. Just leave them alone, please, and thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next speaker I have is virtual speaker. It says T. Dosa. T. Dosa, if you can.
Yes.
Hi there.
Hi. My name is Tanwer Dosa. I'm trying to get my video working here. I'm not sure if it's going to pop up. Hi there.
There you go.
I live in 3408 Gaspe Place. And I just wanted to speak a little bit about the development that's being planned here. And I understand the need for more density in housing and all the stuff like that. But we recently just moved to this house about a year and a half ago. I got 2 young children, ages 7 and 4, who play in this little cul-de-sac street. And where the development is being proposed would be, adding a substantial amount of volume of people to this, small community. Which, I can understand to some degree, but where the access is being planned, for the parkade garage, it seems that it's a terrible place to put it for the residents that actually live here. I'm not sure I agree with the, traffic studies and what the city planning is, saying about the number of parking spaces available. But I can tell you that it's grossly overestimated. And so my concern really comes for, the safety of the kids playing in the neighborhood, as well as the safety of the people driving in and out of this small street. On one side of us is Apex, on the other side of us is Park 8 Avenue, and we're kind of right in the middle there. If you guys ever drive the Mount Seymour Parkway, it's unfortunate to say, but not many people follow the speed limit there. And we often see cars flying by at, 80 kilometers plus. It's very difficult to turn into that small turn lane. And I can understand, adding 46 units with a parkade access onto that street would just exasperate the volume there. And so I would strongly recommend, replanning of the development itself and trying to relocate that to a less obtrusive entrance, and that would actually provide better safety for the residents that are driving in and out of it. Thanks for your time. I hope you guys consider this carefully. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your comments. Thank you very much for your comments. Okay, I believe we've completed the public input for this point. On item 8.2, we do have a member of the public signed up to speak in favor at the item. Which, sorry? Yeah. So just to be clear, yeah. The only thing, so our policy, and again, I'm not running a public hearing for this because we would lose our ability to. Sorry, I need you to listen to me for just a moment. So I'm following our policy as close to the rule as I can. And the rule is that we allow up to 30 minutes of time at the front end of a regular meeting of council for public input. This is not a public hearing on item 8.2. And so I just want to be clear, we've hit the 30 minutes and I'm trying to follow the regulation. Now I do have another speaker signed up at the item to speak at 8.2, but I'm very sorry. I'm not a supporter of the policy that the province basically ruled public hearings as illegal. But it means that your best opportunity to. Oh, fine. I'll add you. Sorry, I'm very sorry. I thought you said 8.2. So I'm going to call you up at 8.12 at the item to speak. That's fine. Sorry about the sensitivity on that. We're just trying to make sure that we're not on the wrong side of the regulation on that, because if you are, then someone can challenge the results of the council meeting. And so we're just trying to be very careful to make sure we follow our regulations very closely on that. But my apologies, I thought you were talking about item 8.2. Okay, so, but where we are at tonight now, moving on with this evening's meeting, we're going into delegations. And so tonight we have the pleasure of welcoming representatives from North Shore Neighborhood House for a discussion and an update on their programs. And so I'd like to welcome North Shore Neighborhood House to our meeting. So if you could come down, get seated, we'll get the microphone set up. So just to explain the process here. So A delegation is an opportunity for an organization within the community to have a little bit of a longer time to make a presentation. So they have 5 minutes to make their presentation. It's also followed up with a question and answer period for council to ask clarifying questions of the presentation. And so there may be some additional questions at the end of the time. But at this point, I'd like to welcome North Shore Neighborhood House. If you could introduce your delegation, and then also we'll carry on with the 5-minute presentation.
Thank you, and good evening, Mayor and Council. We're here to provide an update regarding the Solutions Navigator program at the North Shore Neighborhood House. And my name is Lee Howard. I'm the Community Programs Manager. With me is Rebecca Knight, who is one of our community navigators. And in the gallery, we have our Executive Director, Lisa Hubbard. Thank you for having us. The Solutions Navigator program assists North Shore residents who are facing or at risk of poverty. Our navigators offer free, low barrier one-on-one appointments to help individuals to access essential services. The program was initiated in 2023 through priorities determined in the poverty reduction strategy and continues to meet those priorities in moving the strategy to action. The program is funded in part through core funding from the District of North Vancouver. We are very appreciative to receive this funding, which contributes to wages for 2 navigators working a combined 50 hours per week, plus additional funds for clients in need of temporary assistance, such as rent or grocery support. This program would not be possible without district support, and we would like to extend our appreciation and thank you for prioritizing funding for this service to our community members in need. And I will pass it over to the navigator to give you a bit more info.
All right, so to focus in on 2024, we see an average of 60 individual clients per month. Most clients are on our caseload for an average of 2.5 months. Finding and keeping affordable housing is by far the greatest need that we see, and we see this in about 70% of individuals we work with. People who are precariously housed have complex and individualized situations. Some are couch surfing, staying with friends, or in illegal sublets. Most are longtime North Shore residents who are trying to stay in the community to continue to access their supports here. In terms of typical demographics, being lower income is a common thread for our clientele, but within that, there's a wide range of situations. Clients with disability is very common, and this can vary from chronic illness to traumatic brain injury, substance use disorders, and developmental disabilities. Folks who are on disability assistance cannot afford market rentals. Besides this, we also commonly see women fleeing abuse and single mothers, and seniors who unfortunately cannot make ends meet. We help clients directly with applications for housing, income supports, and subsidies, and government programs. Complex, inaccessible forms are often overwhelming for our clientele, and many people do not have the computer skills to navigate them. Checking in and following up with the client to make them accountable to their action plan is also critical to the work we do. We support with breaking tasks down to make them more manageable for the people we work with. We also help support clients in their own advocacy, such as giving them the language or advice on best way to approach service providers, and we can advocate for them on their behalf as well. This looks like writing letters of reference and reaching out to service providers for them. We have very strong relationships with the Ministry of Social Development and Poverty Reduction and liaise with ministry workers. Having an advocate with the ministry is insurmountably helpful to clear communication and accessibility for the client. The number one difference we strive to do for our clients is helping to bridge the gap. We do proactive, preventative work to keep people out of the system. This support allows us to help clients, our support funds allow us to help clients through a crisis. Our focus is to support and empower them so they don't exacerbate their situation. A multi-sectional approach is critical to achieving their goals. Our program is the thread that links many partners here on the North Shore. We are actively working to do case management and collaborate with partners on individuals' needs. Tag teaming support is critical to our work, and we act as a community connector to share information about resources and link services. To quickly hone in on a few typical case examples of the kind of people that we're working with, I'm going to start with income support needs. So one example of something we do frequently is to help prep disability applications for individuals because GPs often do not have the capacity and time. These applications are long and dense, but necessary for individuals to access income and disability assistance or have any disability income at all. We help to streamline the process of the application so they can get onto supports as quickly as possible. Something we also commonly do is work with folks needing affordable housing. A classic example of this is that someone has been evicted and is on a fixed income and needs housing as soon as possible. We try to help them look online for listings, look into shelter and safe house options, or work on expectation management and provide emotional support, helping to create an action plan. Many individuals with mental health barriers might have trouble living with roommates or do not have past references or a bad credit score. We work with individuals to try and find creative solutions and to support them. And very quickly, our last example is someone needing ID. So entrenched unhoused clients often need ID as their first resource before they can access any other services such as housing supports or income supports. This is usually a birth certificate and can often involve reaching out to other provinces or trying to contact a guarantor to connect as a reference for them.
And on behalf of the hundreds of individuals receiving support from this program, we would like to say thank you. And
Thank you so much. Councillor Murray.
Seat of the delegation.
Moved. Is there a seconder on the matter? Second by Councillor Pope. Councillor Murray, your comments, please.
Presentation, your work. Is the need growing?
yes.
Like exponentially growing?
Yeah, I would say it's exponentially growing. I would say that our numbers have increased over the last 2.5 years we've been running the program. I would say probably in the first year, we saw like 250 people maybe, and we're seeing more than like 300 at this point. Over the course of our program, we've served 130 plus clients over 3,600 appointments.
Wow. And most of it is because of housing?
Yeah, I would say the number one issue that people come to us with is housing, but you know, housing is not in a silo. People might have a housing need, but that interacts with mental health,
Right.
need for disability supports, and many other needs. But usually the need for affordable housing is sort of at the core issue.
It's so important to have that assistance too, to get them through it, because it's hard enough just for people that are not struggling to find housing, let alone if you're struggling with a mental health challenge or, you know, any other a list of numbers of issues. And is it sort of split between the two municipalities? Is it higher in one than it is in the other?
Yeah, it's tough to say. We estimate that we know that there's about a third of the clients or a quarter to a third of the clients are coming from directly from the district, but because of the nature of the clientele, they tend to move throughout all three municipalities on the North Shore, either, you know, where they're staying with friends, where they might find a place for a short term, or in shelters or various safe houses. And so it's hard for us to get an exact number because it's really North Shore that we're seeing.
And what is it that you need more of? And be honest.
Housing, affordable housing.
Whatever that means.
Below
we have
market
a tough
housing.
time defining what it is.
Yeah, for example, we were just thinking about there's a new development just down the road here, Hollybrook. And the units went up, I guess, for application about just over a month ago. And within the month, our understanding is that there was over 600 applications, and there's only 86 units in that development.
And did those 600 applications come from the North Shore or come from the district and the city or the district, or where did they come from?
Well, we didn't take in the applications. So like I said, that's just my understanding is that number. But I do know that housing development is only prioritizing, first of all, district, and then I think City of North Van, and then North Shore. So that was their three. So I think once it's so new, so I think once the application process is complete, then hopefully we'll be able to get more solid information about what those numbers look like and where those people came from.
Right. Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. Councillor Pope.
Pardon me. Thank you so much for the work.
I want you to move your microphone right in front of you. There you go.
Thank you. Thank you very much for the work that you do. It's so important to our community, and we really appreciate it. We know that affordable housing is one of the top problems here on the North Shore, and I'm disheartened to hear how many people you see that are in need every month. I'm wondering, I heard you use the words expectation management, and I'm assuming that's because you've got nowhere to send them. How many do you turn away in terms, how many people who you see a month cannot find housing, and where do they go?
Yeah, that is why we use the term expectation management. To be clear, we never turn anyone away, but we're really trying to come up with creative solutions to find affordable housing for these folks. It can often look like Craigslist searching. Sometimes we have to have the tough conversation about what the possibility of moving off the North Shore might look like in terms of finding affordable housing. Obviously, that's an absolute last case scenario. We never want to open up the conversation of uprooting someone from their community. But yeah, you know, having this Delbrook housing application was really, really great. And it gave a lot of folks hope. But we're unfortunately, yeah, we're not meeting the need 100%. Yeah.
So we just need to have more affordable housing, period.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And especially affordable housing for folks who are on fixed incomes, such as income assistance or disability assistance, and that sort of deep level subsidy affordable housing. Yeah.
And I'm also very concerned about the number of seniors you're seeing, because I understand that sector is growing in terms of need.
Yeah. Yeah, we do see a lot of seniors. We work in partnership with North Shore Community Resources Seniors One Stop Program as well, to tag team support for them. But yeah, we do see a lot of seniors.
What's their story?
Yeah, I think a lot of seniors are on fixed income through CPP, OAS, GIS. We do see a lot of seniors who are on, who have been in long-term housing where they've got a fixed rental rate and are being, you know, moved out of that housing for whatever reason. And for the first time are facing the realities of having to navigate a housing crisis and affordability crisis. That can be very common as well. Yeah.
Yeah, I think with seniors, it's very overwhelming as well for them because it could be the first time that they've had to look for housing or be in this situation. And many of them don't have the skills on the computer and knowledge, and most forms and applications now are all online. So the navigators really do a lot of applications, sitting down one-on-one with people, looking through applications, filling out all the forms for them and seeing what's available.
And even just, you know, really breaking things down, like a lot of the information that's available is not transparent on different resources websites.
Yeah.
And so really having a working knowledge of the system, the realities and of you know, the steps you should take, okay, apply to this and then this, can be really, really helpful for folks. Yeah.
Are seniors who are on like fixed incomes and say the Canada Pension Plan, is there anything affordable for them in that range? I don't know what that amount is, but
no, so a lot of seniors in that range would have to apply for what's called the SAFER subsidy, which is a housing subsidy through BC Housing. Thankfully, that was increased a little bit last summer, but it doesn't break even for many folks. Yeah, it doesn't make a huge difference.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Pope. Councillor Mah.
Thank you for your work you do. If you don't mind, I'm just going to ask a couple of quick questions. I'm just reading from your overhead, making appointments online. And Lee, I think you mentioned that, you know, some of the seniors, you know, may have technology issues. How do you help people that don't have access to a computer to make appointments?
Yeah, folks don't have to make an appointment online. You can make an appointment by phone, online. We don't encourage drop-ins, but also if folks come to the neighborhood house, there's like a form they can fill to make an appointment with us as well. In terms of accessing computers as well, that's something that we can also help people try and access with our additional funding. Does that answer your question?
And I'm sure you're quite familiar with the BC Housing Registry.
Yep.
So am I. Yep. Unfortunately, it's a good service, but there's some challenges. Have you Do you have any idea of how long, on average, some of your clients are waiting to get placed through the registry? How long is the wait period?
I can't say, give you a solid number. I see a huge range depending on the person's situation, because
Right.
as you probably know, it operates on a points basis.
Sorry.
I have seen, when I'm working with someone, I warn them that it's often quite a few years before they'll hear anything. I would say the average wait time is, what I'm seeing is probably 10 years, and I've seen up to 19 years.
Okay. I just wanted people to understand that there is a system, but the system isn't working the way it needs to. So thank you for that.
Okay, thank you very much. The next speaker I see is Councillor Back.
Thank you very much for your presentation. You mentioned that you work with North Shore Community Resources to help some of their clients. Do you work with other social agencies across the North Shore? Like, are you fairly connected?
Definitely. I
Given
think
that you're
that's one
probably
of,
serving a lot of the same clientele.
definitely. I think that's one of the greatest strengths of our program is we work very closely with a lot of other organizations. If you'd like me to list a few, we work very closely with the Lookout, the new North Shore Junction here on Lonsdale.
great.
Very closely with CMHA, North Shore Disability Resources, Hollyburn Community Services, North Shore Community Resources. I could go on.
That's great to hear that kind of collaboration. Yeah, I just want to say a thank you. It's easy to take organizations like the Neighborhood House for granted because you've always been there. And programs like this are just so vital for our community. So thank you for everything you do to make people's lives better, whether it's helping folks through housing challenges, food bank, childcare. You do so much, and we really appreciate it, and we're here to support. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you to all the councillors who have asked questions and your answers, which I've listened to with great care. If you were to just give us a very broad overview of the circumstances that give rise to your clients being in the needing your services, if you could just give us a few examples of the types of situations that commonly arise that cause people to come into your the need of your services. It might be of assistance to us in humanizing and understanding these people in our community. Thank you.
Definitely. Maybe I'll start and you can add something in. Definitely, I'll start and I'll pass it over to Lee to add anything else in. I would definitely say, just first off, we see a really wide range of individuals. I think we see people who have been maybe experiencing homelessness for a very long time, and we also see a lot of people who are facing a crisis for the first time. They've never been in this position. Maybe it's due to something outside of their control, a health issue, an environmental issue. We work with North Shore Emergency Management as well. So it would be really hard to sort of give a specific example. But as I mentioned in my presentation, I do think that disability is a really, really common thread throughout a lot of the folks that we work with. That can include mental health, that can include physical health. It's hard to navigate our systems in the best of circumstances. And when you have barriers against you, I think it's really challenging. Is there anything specific you want to add, Lee?
Yeah, I was just going to say that oftentimes too, the clients that we get are not what you're expecting necessarily. They're clients who are maybe just facing the reality of poverty and they're not quite there yet. But so, they may have lost a job, they may be fleeing an abusive spouse, or an illness or something may have just come up. So the beauty of the Navigators program is that they have the flexibility to work with various agencies and various avenues for the client's specific needs, and in many cases are able to really bridge that gap between the person really, maybe they've had to flee, or their spouse has left them and now they don't have a job and they've got 2 kids in their condo or their apartment. And if they don't get a job that month, or they don't have income coming in with that month, they may be evicted. So we're able to work with them to help bridge that gap, calm the overwhelm of the situation and potentially give them that space and opportunity to look for work, to get on that next step, and not get into the system, you might say, keep them out of that system. So we do have a lot of clients at that level as well, which is kind of just keeping them out of the system.
Thank you very much. That was useful. And thank you for your service and all that you do in our community. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. I see no further questions from council. So we've moved receipt of the delegation. I'm prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much for your presentation and all you do in our community. We do appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next item today is moving on to the regular reports for council. This is item 8.1. This is bylaws 8555 and 8554, OCP amendment and rezoning for the 12-unit townhouse development at 3288 Brookridge Drive and 1135 to 1147 Ridgewood Drive. The item has already been previously debated by the council, so the item is up just simply for adoption. And so there's no debate on the matter. Will somebody please move the motion? Moved by Councillor Moss, second by Councillor Back. Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, council. The next item up for discussion is item 8.2. This is the rezoning bylaw 8736 for a 46-unit townhouse at 3374 3380 Mount Seymour Parkway and 2 unaddressed lots fronting MSP Mount Seymour Parkway and 3382 to 3396 Gaspe Place. And this item is up for consideration of first, second, and third readings. And I will just note that item 8.3 is contingent on this passing. So if this doesn't pass, then 8.3 would drop off of our agenda. So at this point, I'm going to look to staff to, I do have a speaker on this item. And so the speaker is Eric Chan. Welcome. If I could have you come and sit right there, we'll get the microphones turned on for you. And again, welcome. When you're comfortable, you have 3 minutes to address the council.
Good evening, Mayor and councillors. My name is Eric Chan. I am the representative of the applicant. With me tonight are members of the project team, including the architect, landscape architect, civil and traffic engineers. Together, we represent the 46-unit townhouse application. Thank you for the opportunity to speak, as well as your consideration of this application before you tonight. The site fronts onto Mount Seymour Parkway, backs onto Northlands Golf Course, and sits beside the 60-unit Northlands Terrace development, making this proposal consistent with the existing fabric of the neighborhood and the official community plan. The project originated in 2016 with an application submitted in 2018. It was withdrawn until the latest update to the OCP was completed. The proposal was then revived in 2022 to be compliant with the new governing documents and have been improved in many areas to address staff and neighborhood comments, such as increasing housing diversity by adding 10 lock-off suites, giving greater flexibility for homeowners to rent a portion of their home and or to grow their household without moving. We have also improved accessibility throughout the project. We have thoughtfully adjusted design to minimize impact of the project with our neighbors, specifically as it relates to the adjacent Northlands Terrace development. We have also reduced the overall FSR of the project. We're also promoting alternative forms of transportation by adding a bike share fleet for the residents and a dedicated bike maintenance room in addition to numerous transportation demand measures. We're also improving overall natural landscaping, which includes removal of many dead trees and planting 8 times the number of on-site trees when compared to the bylaw tree replacement requirement. The project is proposing 98 new trees, and to be clear, the woodlands to the northwest of the site will remain intact. We are also providing a voluntary cash contribution of $50,000 towards future improvements of the Spirit Trail extension over and above the $1 million CAC contribution. In addition, we are improving water management by installing a significant on-site stormwater detention tank, in addition to upsizing and upgrading the existing storm main 190 meters westwards past the project's frontage. Over the last 7 years, the application went through 2 neighborhood information sessions, 2 rounds of community feedback, 2 advisory design panel meetings, and 2 full staff reviews. Each step informed thoughtful revisions to the design, ensuring it meets updated policies, reflect community input, and integrates sensitively into the existing multi and single family neighborhood. It would be an understatement to suggest how excited we are to have this project in front of you today. We believe this version of the project strikes a balance between gentle density, municipal compliance, and housing diversity. It offers multi-generational housing options for first-time buyers, growing families, and downsizers alike. And as part of the proposal, can unlock significant value for the district's land income fund through the purchase of the 2 district-owned lots and lane. Thank you again for your time and consideration. We are here to answer any questions you may have tonight.
Thank you very much for your comments, Eric Chan. I now ask staff to get prepared for their report.
Good evening, Mayor, members of Council, and members of the public. My name is Liam Butler, and on behalf of staff, I would like to do a brief presentation. The application proposes the redevelopment of the site for 46 townhouse units. The proposal is seeking a zoning bylaw amendment. The rezoning bylaw 8736 is recommended for first, second, and third readings. In accordance with the provisions of the Local Government Act, as the rezoning bylaw is consistent with the official community plan and is majority residential, a public hearing must not be held. My presentation is 12 slides long and approximately 5 minutes in length. As shown in red above, the site is located on the northwest corner of Mount Seymour Parkway and Gaspe Place, east of the Parkgate Village Centre. The property comprises 7 lots in total, including 5 single-family lots with existing homes, 2 unaddressed vacant district-owned lots, and a portion of closed road allowance. The 2 district lots and road allowance detailed in blue above are part of an agreement of purchase and sale subject to rezoning bylaw approval. A separate highway closure bylaw for the portion of closed road allowance will be presented by my colleague following this item. As shown above, the proposed site is detailed in red. There have been several occupied and in-stream development applications of comparable form and density along the 3300 to 3500 block of Mount Seymour Parkway. These are as follows. Shown in blue are the occupied Northlands Terrace townhomes immediately west and 27 North townhomes to the east. Shown in orange are the in-stream rezoning and development permit applications for the 3400 block of Mount Seymour Parkway further east of the site. The purple envelopes on the screen show the other existing multifamily developments in the area. To the north is Northlands Golf Course, along with an existing public trail network dotted in green. As stated by the applicant, this application has a long history. What is shown here is the chronology that the preliminary and detailed application for the site was submitted in 2017 and 2018. Following this period, the OCP action plan was initiated by council. The previous detailed application for the site was withdrawn by the applicant in 2020 to allow for completion of the district's targeted OCP review. As this work has now been completed, the applicant has resubmitted the updated application as presented. In accordance with the OCP, this proposal seeks rezoning from RS1 to a new comprehensive zone to allow the development to occur. In accordance with the Local Government Act, no public hearing is held. Looking at the site plan now, the proposal is for 46 3-story strata townhouse units in 8 buildings, all set above one level of underground parking for 71 vehicles, including 7 visitor spaces. The townhouse units are a mix of 2 and 3 bedroom units consisting of 6 2-bedroom, 43 bedroom, including 10 lock-off suites. Each unit will also contain private outdoor space. The site experiences a moderate crossfall from the site. Despite this, the proposal will provide 1 fully basic accessible unit in Building 8 and 4 basic accessible lock-off suites. Shown in the red arrow, the vehicular entrance to the underground parking is from Gaspe Place. As outlined in blue, 3 stairwell access points and 1 elevator is proposed to provide access between grade and the parking. Shown in the blue arrows is the access points. The primary access point to the site is from Mount Seymour Parkway between buildings 6 and 7. All pedestrian access paths are private and feature extensive landscaping leading to a central courtyard and kids' play area, which is the focal point of the site encircled in red above. A virtual and in-person public information meeting was held in June to July 2024 in accordance with district policy. During this period, 27 comments were received, along with one petition with 18 signatures against. 3 key support comments they are supportive of missing middle housing, multifamily housing proximate to Parkway Village Centre, and lastly, they like the range of unit sizes. 3 key concerns include the western interface, impacts to the natural environment, and access. The responses are as follows. Some raised privacy concerns regarding the interface with the existing Northlands Terrace townhomes to the west, circled in red above. As detailed within the staff report, the proposal has implemented several mitigation measures to offset these impacts, including extensive landscaping, adopting a similar setback to the Northlands Terrace townhomes, locating private patios away from neighbouring developments, providing no direct window-to-window facing conditions. One of the other concerns was about impacts to the natural environment. The proposal includes extensive landscaping, including substantial replacement trees on and off site. As shown above, the site is close to extensive woodlands northwest of the site that will remain largely intact. So the new trees and the existing woodlands will over time foster a new natural environment suitable for bird life. One concern was also in relation to vehicle access and whether it could be accommodated off Mount Seymour Parkway. However, this is a misunderstanding as district policy does not permit access to underground parking directly from arterial roads such as Mount Seymour Parkway. Another concern was raised regarding the potential signalisation of the Mount Seymour Parkway and Gaspe Place intersection. Conduits will be provided for the future signalisation at this intersection at such time when the district deems necessary for these upgrades. Turning to my last slide, as shown above, outlined in red, the proposal will benefit the community through several off-site improvements, including a new sidewalk, curb and gutter, street tree planting along Mount Seymour Parkway and Gaspe Place, and a storm main upgrade along Mount Seymour Parkway. In addition to the standard DCC and Metro DCCs, the proposal will contribute a CAC at the value of over $1 million, which will be secured by a density bonus provision in the proposed zoning bylaw. A voluntary cash contribution of $50,000 will also be secured for future trail improvements. In summary, this project proposes key multifamily housing that promotes aging in place and accommodates young families proximate to a village centre. Staff are recommending the rezoning bylaw for first, second, and third reading in accordance with the Local Government Act. Thank you for listening. This concludes my presentation.
Thank you very much. Okay, next up, we have Councillor Hanson. Councillor Hanson, your name was on, did you want to make a motion?
No, I'm not making a motion.
Okay, I'm looking to council for a motion. Okay, if there's no motion, the matter will die. Councillor Ma, do you have a motion? You're moving the staff recommendation. Is there a seconder for the staff recommendation? Seconded by Councillor Back. Councillor Ma, do you have comments on the matter?
I want to thank members of the public for their feedback on this project. I don't think she's here, but I want to thank one of the speakers tonight for her email today about living in one of the 5 homes that will be demolished if this project is approved. I did go out this afternoon to visit the site just to see what will happen with the new development, and I did meet with her. For me, these types of issues are not easy decisions. There are many factors to consider. In looking at the proposal by the applicant and notwithstanding the community that already exists at Gaspe Place, there are benefits to the greater community. The proposed form of the townhouses fit with the surrounding neighborhood. I note that the advisory design panel did support the design. The 46 townhomes will provide much needed housing. There are 2 and 3 bedrooms for young families. I believe 15% or 6 units roughly or have some sort of accessibility features. There are also 10 lock-off units that could potentially be rented out in the secondary market. The parking ratio is, I think, reasonable with 71 spots for 46 units. I do have a concern about the loss of trees, but given the district's tree replacement strategy, I'm told that 98 new trees will be replanted. I'm also satisfied with the tenant relocation assistance efforts that are offered to the remaining renters in some of the homes. In terms of the districts, the two district-owned lots that the developer would require for this project, I would generally not support selling district land. However, there are exceptions. One, when the district cannot use it for other purposes, or when the district can strategically use the proceeds from the sale to acquire other preferred lots. In this case, the two lots together add up to roughly 1/3 of an acre. There's limited development potential on their own unless one is prepared to add more height or sign up for supportive housing. And even then, it would be a relatively smaller number of units. I believe that the funds from the proceeds can be used strategically elsewhere to advance the district's housing objectives. Overall, I support the staff recommendation to give the first 3 readings of this new bylaw. Thank you.
Very much. Councillor Back is the seconder. Do you have a comment?
Thank you, Mayor Little. Thank you very much to the residents who came and spoke here to us this evening and who've contacted us. This is a project that we've been looking at for a while, and it has certainly evolved with improvements in recent months. I don't want to repeat the comments of Councillor Mo. I do agree with all of his comments. It's always challenging when our official community plan is about putting more housing where there are currently homes, and I can appreciate that, you know, this is challenging for people that are already living there, and they are going to lose their homes as they know them. But I believe there is a greater good here for the future of the community in providing the sort of housing that this development will bring. The fact that it is family-oriented housing, I think, is a part of the housing continuum that we have not been building enough of, and I think it's an important piece here. It's more affordable than a single family home. We know that. And certainly the 10 homes that will have the walk-off suites, there'll be some benefit there. This project is well located, I think, on a corridor that's close to schools and parks and incredible trails just right behind the property, a golf course and shopping that's all walkable, making it a very livable part of the community to live. I think this is the kind of development that we want to see. So I think for families, I think in some case downsizers, people that want to stay in the community that they've lived for many years, this form of housing makes sense. It also raises the environmental standards of the housing that's there, given that you know, we have such ambitious climate action goals here. As has been mentioned, there is over $1 million community amenity contribution, along with public realm improvements like new sidewalks, landscaping, new connections to the trails. I think all of this will benefit the broader community. So on the whole, I think there's great benefit. It's a thoughtful and well-designed project that I think does reflect our community's values and needs. So I'm pleased to support it.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hanson, your comments, please.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, as always, to staff for their hard work in presenting the project to us. And thank you for the public who've let their views be known in different ways and have been of assistance to me in determining how I will vote on this proposal. I will not be supporting this rezoning. On balance, I do not believe this project is in the best interest of our community. In terms of housing, the project will eliminate 6 occupied rental units and create 46 strata townhomes with 10 lock-off suites. This project will not create the kind of rental and affordable housing which is so urgently needed by our community. And I do just reference the presentation that we had earlier by the neighborhood house about the lineups and delays and lack of accessibility to basic affordable, deep dive affordable housing. As for transportation, the proposal calls for 71 parking spaces. Despite being on a bus route, this is essentially a car-dependent location for most purposes. Projects already underway, notably the Anthem project at Lytton and Mount Seymour Parkway, will bring many, many more cars to this area. I do not believe now is the time to bring yet more cars to Mount Seymour Parkway. I can say with confidence that more cars on the Parkway is not what our community wants. But perhaps most significantly, I look at this proposal through an environmental lens. This proposal includes 2 district-owned lots. These lots are currently occupied by trees and plants and all of the living things that creep and crawl and fly within. I visited the site. I looked carefully at the vacant lots, and they're an area of great natural beauty. They're a very beautiful natural space within our community. I personally believe the district should preserve these lots as green space for all times and for all peoples. Future generations, I believe, will thank us for protecting these sites as green space. In my view, these district lots should be added to the surrounding green space and protected as parks and open space. I will say in closing that we're a proposal to come forward that only involved the 5 developed lots and that protected the green space on these 2 undeveloped district sites. I might have a different view. And that is why I am casting the vote the way I am. Thank you.
Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I won't be supporting the application either. I'm not in favor of selling public land for-profit housing. I never have been and I never will be. Ripping down 5 houses is not environmental. This is not affordable housing. This is for market profit housing. And we're good right now. When this plan was created, when the Seymour area plan was created in the OCP, the challenges of this region and this province, and quite frankly, this country, we did not have the same challenges. We weren't facing increasing in homelessness. I'm really disappointed that this council continues to displace people. I go back as far as Emery Place in Lynn Valley. We just displaced families out of the old Dollarton and Riverside Drive affordable housing complex. And now we're going to displace more families in the Seymour. And we don't have any solution to house these people. These projects, not so much this one, but certainly the one on Dollarton, will take years to build. If it even starts to build, very uncertain right now with the housing starts. The Globe and Mail last week reported that we've got a surge of inventory because people have great uncertainty. This area is very precarious. The access into this site, I feel sick for the people that are remaining on Gas Place with the single family houses that remain, what they're going to have to live through with this development application on this very precarious, almost inaccessible site. The property to the west, you can see, has a significant amount of green space. It also has 36,000 or 30,000 square feet more in area, but it's not as packed in as some of the developments in recent years. Anthem comes to mind at Lytton and Mount Seymour Parkway, where once a lawn and a pool and a playground existed. It is a pathway through a maze of apartments, and it's really it's the densest that I've seen in any project in the district, and I see this one as being as dense, and I'm not sure why we continue to squeeze as many units in as we can and trade that for livability, purchasing houses that are going to be well over $1 million. and for what level of livability. The parking is already a problem. The Tsleil-Waututh has just pushed their road through from Ravenwoods to Apex. My understanding is 3 27-story towers is on the books along the edge of the golf course. That level of traffic is going to be coming out on Mount Seymour Parkway. The traffic, I live in the community. I don't know anyone that's going to be in favor of increasing the amount of cars on the Parkway, and the service by transit is always inadequate. It always has been. It will continue to be with no significant certainty to funding. So, and then, you know, the issue of selling land that we own to buy land that is more expensive in another area that we have yet to do. I've never understood. I think that's an illogical approach. We have done a lot of good with lots that we have along the Parkway for housing for people in different situations. And I think we should just continue to do that. I don't know why we want to continue to tear down green space. There is a significant amount of development happening in the Seymour, and a significant amount of forest is being clear cut to accommodate that development. And we've already seen the impacts in the Sherwood Park area. We've seen it in the Roche Point area where wildlife is being pushed out because of urban density and sprawl. We don't, I get it. I get this is a business. I understand that very clearly. I just don't think as a leader in this community that we need this right now. We need to be building housing that looks after people that are struggling, like the presentation earlier on, and not rip down the affordable housing that exists in this community to make way for for-profit housing for people that don't have a challenge with finding a place to lay their head. Those people that spoke tonight are going to, I suspect, be sickened tomorrow when they wake up and understand what's happened, and panic about where they're going to move their family.
Thanks, Councillor Muir. I've only heard 2 votes in favor, 2 votes opposed, so I think it's still to be determined whether there's a vote. Councillors Pope and Forbes, do you have any comments on the matter? I do have some questions myself. I'm willing to go first with my, go ahead, Councillor Forbes.
Thank you. I kind of have an evening tonight where the dog ate my homework. I did all my research and notes, and it's at home. So a lot of things that has already been said were things that I was going to bring up, and I'm not in favor of this as well. I don't agree with selling district land. I agree with either keeping green space, which a lot of these developments build right out to full capacity, and there's no park, there's no green space, there's no breathing room for the people who have to live there. And if we don't create parks or leave treed lots as they are, then we owe it to our community to have true affordable housing or supportive housing. That's what's needed in the district, so people can actually get in to a housing space. And it's even more disturbing to me that we have 5 lots that are inhabited with families, and we want to dislodge families out of 5 usable, being used lots. I'm really bothered by that. There are a lot of other things that I'm bothered on, but the main item, we get 46 units and 10 lockoffs. We've got 8 buildings going on, 3-story buildings, and they're not terraced. They're like solid walls. It doesn't matter what door you have facing Mount Seymour Parkway. It's a wall with a window, maybe a door. Why didn't they get designed to be terraced a little bit more away from, so it doesn't look like they're extending right out to the maximum square footage of the lot? I think the pedestrian walkway that's talked about in here, I think sometimes when it's talked about in here, it's a little bit of a stretch of the imagination, because on the one hand, you say that the walkways that will be in this development are private walkways, and then you try to capitalize though on it being, quote, will promote an accessible pedestrian network through sidewalk upgrades along Mount Seymour Parkway and Gaspe. Well, we already have some of that, and some of that would be expected to be done by a development in any case. Policy 7.2.3, encourage the retention of existing and the development of new rental units through development zoning and other incentives. That's an example of how this development is following OC policy. Well, it's not, because we're not going to retain the retention of existing. We're not developing new rental, and it's not, it just doesn't fit. So I think some of the following the policies in here really are being disingenuous of how much they apply. Priority 5, increase housing diversity. Priority action 5, increase housing diversity to support a range of incomes, household types, and accessibility needs within and close to town and village center. How many accessible parking spots are there? 1? How many accessible units are there? Not very many. So I don't understand that statement, how it applies to what's actually on the paper here to be built. And you do talk about that you, for the transit, you do talk about that you in future, you would do intersection improvement, or you will improve it for future major district corridor identified in the transportation plan. So you're fully aware of what that traffic is going to look like on Mount Seymour Parkway. And I don't think it's livable. And I don't want to disperse or renovate any families out of homes that are good and they can keep living in them. They're not tear down conditions. Thank you.
Just want to be clear, those questions embedded there may have been rhetorical, but I think they can be answered. I believe there's 3 accessible parking stalls in the development. And can you describe the accessibility features of the units, Mr. Butler?
Yes, I can. Thank you for your question, Mayor. One moment, sorry.
Yeah, maybe, sorry, you ready?
Yep.
Okay, maybe I'll just get started. I think under the district policy, I think the 15% of the unit for townhouse, that's more of an aspirational goal. Because this particular site has this challenging topography, initially there wasn't any accessible unit, but as a result of redesign, I think in building B8, right at the corner of Mount Seymour Parkway and Gaspe Place, there is 1 accessible unit. In addition, there are 4 lock-off suites that would be accessible. So for a total of 5 units accessible. And then in terms of the other features of accessibility, that the applicant also proposed a elevator going from the Gaspe Place, where there's a flat portion of the site from the parkade up to the ground level, and that would serve the surrounding units. And then there's also, I think, 3 accessible, I think I'm just looking at this, 3 accessible parking space adjacent to the elevator in the parkade. So that is what's being proposed.
The 5 units that are flagged as accessible, that would be a level 2 accessibility on them, or level 3, or what level of accessibility is that? Is that full wheelchair accessible level 3, or is that?
Yeah, so basic accessible. So the building 8 will be a fully basic accessible unit, and then there'll be 4 lock-off suites that are also basic accessible as well.
Contributes an answer. Councillor Forbes, the floor is still yours if you'd like it.
Well, that was the other point that I didn't make, is that this is being built to basic accessibility standards. There doesn't seem to be a need to go a little bit above. So that bothers me as well.
Thank you. Okay, I guess I'll ask a few questions myself. This is the first time that council's had an opportunity to debate this issue, and you know, the last time we had a discussion in this neighborhood, you know, we also had this debate about, overreach into the neighborhood, into the neighboring properties and such. I don't find that to be particularly objectionable on the west side. I think that there still will be enough of a break there. And frankly, it's about the same kind of imposition that each one of the neighboring buildings casts onto each other one to the west. That isn't my big concern. My big concerns are whether the district is getting fair compensation for turning 2 greenfield lots into development, and whether or not it's a wise policy to allow such a high ratio of unbundled parking stalls in a street that is ostensibly a car-centric street with no real access to any community overflow, because frankly, Gaspe doesn't have the parking capacity. There's no crosswalk over to the south side of Mount Seymour Parkway, where about a block away there is some parking. And so you really have to go at least 200 meters in either direction along the parkway and across the street in order to be able to access any potential guest or overflow parking at that rate of unbundle. And so it's problematic. I do support us producing more units in the community that are not car-centric. I just happen to think they're better suited to be closer to core transit areas in our community. This will be very hard to live without, particularly for a family unit, to live without a bundled parking stall. And for 50% of the units to not have a bundled parking stall and then to still call them family size units or family oriented housing, I think that's a wee bit out of step with where the community generally is right now. So while I like a lot of what the project has the potential to do, and I do think that Gaspe is, while it is a bit of an island unto itself and it has some challenges with access and egress onto Parkway in both directions, and it has challenges with the steepness of the site. I can't, in this format, address the challenges that I have with the unbundled parking ratio and the whether we're getting enough benefit in terms of social and affordable housing or some other key benefit takeaway from disposing of greenfield site, which I've made many commitments in the community that I'm not going to prioritize dispensing greenfield sites except where there's a significant community benefit. I can't say that I'm seeing a specific community benefit in this development. I definitely, there's cash, there's CAC uplift, there's some changes on the site that will be attractive, but for such a large component of it to be district greenfield land, I would kind of expect there to be more public benefit built in terms of social and affordable housing into this particular space. Not knocking the potential to have that many new units of family size housing. I love having a very high ratio of family size housing in the district compared to a lot of our neighbors that are really going after studios and ones. And so while I want to deliver that in our community, generally speaking, I think you have to support it properly, and this site doesn't support it very well. So unfortunately, I'm in a situation where this current proposal I can't support. And so I will be voting against it. I'd be happy to work with the developers to review other strategies for how these sites could be used in future and how we could get a significant enough benefit for the contribution of green space, but I'm not there at this point. So I will not be supportive of this proposal. Last speaker, or well, sorry, many of you haven't used your full time, but Councillor Pope is the next speaker.
Thank you. My question about this is, why are we selling off district land and laneways to build expensive townhouses? It should be used to meet the community's goals, and that includes affordable housing. We are in a housing crisis, and we need housing like this with 2 and 3 bedroom units. That meets the missing middle, but we need it in the form of rentals, not expensive townhouses. We heard from North Shore Neighborhood House tonight about the need for affordable housing, and that the #1 reason that people come to them is for affordable housing, more than 800 people a year. So I would be prepared to vote in favor of this project if it didn't include the district lands and or if it was rentals. We just don't need more expensive stratas. Thank you.
Thank you. I've got Councillor back, second time speaker.
Thank you, Mayor Little. So these two district-owned lots on their own, I guess it's a question to staff, how viable are they to construct some affordable housing development?
Mr. Butler?
Is that even a possibility? I know there's issues with the access, et cetera.
Do you mind just repeating the question? Sorry, Councillor Beck.
That's okay. The question was just on, like, I understand the conversation around not wanting to sell district-owned land, but these are two district-owned single-family lots on their own. Is it possible to do an affordable housing project on them?
Through your worship, we did look at a sort of a block pattern remainder lot study for this entire block. I would say for these two lots on their own, even in Cooney Lane, it's really hard to put a multi-story, multi-family building on it. But you know, parking alone itself is going to be very, very challenging to accommodate on site. So I think perhaps for that reason, I think the lot assembly idea makes more sense. And so I just want to say that, yeah.
Thank you. And I guess that was what I was trying to get at. I can appreciate that we want to use district-owned land for the, you know, the best benefit of the community. And I think we're doing that in so many locations where we have, you know, sizable pieces of land. But I think this, in my opinion, is one of those ones. And there's a number of single family lots that are like this, where, you know, it does make sense to take that money and put it into an affordable housing project in a different location. And again, there's the $1 million CAC that goes with this as well. So that was my reason for supporting the sale of those lots in this location.
Sorry, I thought there was a response. No, okay. All right. Councillor Ma, second time speaker.
Yeah, this to follow up. I did speak to some people connected with BC Housing in terms of what these lots could be used for. Currently, they're looking for at least a minimum of 28,000 square feet to be able to build maybe a 4-unit housing project. This doesn't meet that. This is roughly a third of an acre. So 15, maybe 16,000 square feet. You're gonna be really challenged to build anything here without going up really high, which will probably lead to a whole bunch of other issues. You're not gonna be able to build efficient underground parking here. There's some really challenges to these two lots. My preference is to use district property for affordable housing unless it's really not feasible. And I don't think it's feasible here, but this is a council decision and council has spoken, but it's going to be challenging to have anything worthwhile built here.
Councillor Forbes, or yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to reiterate that if we don't build or we can't build on it, then we can have a green space with all of the density that's in that little couple of blocks there. I bet a green space with the trailway that goes up to the golf course would be really nice to have. There are other uses for those lots.
I'd like some clarity from the clerk, if I could, on our options. My understanding of the first, second, and third being proposed here is that if it's passed, then the item proceeds. It sounds like it's not going to pass. If we defeat, then the application is entirely defeated and they have to start with a new proposal. Is there a third option where we could send this back to staff and see if there's a way to get a fourth vote, a third, fourth vote on the matter by changing the way the green field lots are incorporated, or a rental component, or some other possibility?
Yes, thank you, through your worship. That would be in order to refer the matter back to staff to incorporate the feedback that council has provided this evening. This means that the bylaws can be
updated and brought forward again. If the matter is defeated, then the bylaws cannot be brought forward for 1 year after the defeat.
So that's my position on this. I think that there is still a viable project potentially on this site, but I think that hopefully we can maybe make some changes, tweaks to it to make it more suitable for the site. And so I would recommend that I make a motion that this matter be referred back to staff. Is there a
I'd second that.
Seconded. Okay. Any other discussion on referral? Okay, I'm prepared to call the question on referral. All those in favor? Need to be clear on this. All in favor, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Sorry, Councillor Forbes, are you in favor of referral or? Okay, so I've got 4 votes in favor of referral. And those opposed to referral? 1, 2, 3 votes opposed to referral. Okay, so the matter passes. The item is referred back to staff for further consideration. Okay, thank you very much, Council. 8.3, because it's contingent on 8.2, it'll be tabled at this time to come back once we have 8.3. Councillor Forbes, wondering if you could maybe take over the chair. This coat is very uncomfortable. I need to get it off, and maybe we can have a bit of a bio break along the way if you want to, or something like that. But I'd like to move on to item 8.4. When
Okay. I don't know. Oh, that's nice. Why don't I have a fan at my desk? Okay, how do I get on? Yeah, 8.4. And how do I get on? Mike? Your mic is on. Okay. All right, moving on to the next item, it's 8.4, which is our tax rates bylaw 8744 for 2025. We've been working on our budget and our tax rates. Thank you for coming back, Mr. Danny. Look, we need you. So we're doing 8.6, the tax rate, or 4, sorry, the tax rate bylaw. Are you speaking to that?
Yes, I can speak to that. At the tax distribution workshop on April 22nd, Council directed staff to prepare the tax rates bylaw based on even distribution of the property tax levy among the property tax classes. And I'll add, Council must adopt the tax rates bylaw by May 14th.
I'll move the recommendation.
Councillor Hanson moves. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Lisa seconder. Councillor Hanson?
Yeah, thank you very much. And the matter was debated and discussed in the workshop, so I won't repeat a lot of what was discussed there. I do just wish to draw attention again to this issue of the Ports Property Tax Act. It's been around throughout my life on council. The effect of it is that a bunch of heavy industry, industry which plays a role in the exportation of raw materials, are given a capped property assessment, which was capped in 2003, and that has only risen with the rate of inflation. And as a result of that, properties that are assessed on a market basis are now 11 times higher in valuation than these cap properties. This is legislation that goes back to the Gordon Campbell government in 2003. As a result of this limitation, our ability to collect and to raise taxes against the cap properties, there's a $4.5 million funding gap, which has to be made up by the other classes. This works out to approximately $100 per residential class. So every residential taxpayer in the district is paying $100 over and above what they ought to be paying to make up for a funding gap that was created by this Gordon Campbell legislation in 2003 that artificially suppressed the tax rates on these listed capped heavy industry properties. 2017, we lobbied the provincial government, the new NDP government, to change this. They said they would look into it. 7 years later, they're still looking into it. So I just wish to emphasize that it's an injustice that we have tolerated for far too long. And for my part, I commit to aggressive lobbying of the provincial government to address this tax inequality within the district. And with those comments, I'm happy to approve the tax rate bylaws as presented.
Thank you, Councillor Hanson. Councillor Murray?
Thank you. Yes, thank you, Councillor Hanson. You did a really good job at explaining this. And I think for the community, they need to understand that this is not something that happens in every other municipality. The only other municipality, well, one of the biggest ones that is impacted is Prince Rupert. And they've been impacted for many years like ourselves. So there's no capped properties in the city of North Vancouver, for instance, and other municipalities throughout the region. And so we have businesses that are treated very differently from their competitors. And it makes it very difficult for companies that have been in this municipality for over 60 years. It makes it very difficult for them to be competitive with their taxes exponentially rising and their competitors being maintained. We have applied the tax rate evenly across the board, as we do generally over the years. It is a challenging debate and discussion that we look at. We recognize that the tax rate sitting at 5.5% this year is something that we have to move back down. We have to live within our means. We are facing enormous challenges economically within this province, country, North America, the world. There is great uncertainty as to what is coming. We are through our election, and we hope that we are going to see some movement, certainly in regards to the tariffs that can keep being applied and removed and applied and removed, and the chaos that has been created within our communities and within the economic playing field of our country. So council has a big job. Metro Vancouver has a big job looking at our budgets and doing what we need to do instead of what we've been doing for many years in regards to what we would like to do. We have to get back down to maintaining our sustainability through our budgets and recognizing that there's only one taxpayer. And how are we going to reconcile that going forward with the costs that we're facing? So I'd like to thank staff for their work. It's a tough job. Thank you, Mr. Daniluk. And I'm happy to support this.
Thank you very much. Matters been moved and seconded. Would anybody else like to contribute their comments? Okay, prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Council. Next item up for discussion is 776 Premier Street, North Vancouver business license application denials. And I'd like to start with an open comment from Mr. Milburn.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Your Worship, members of Council. The subject of this appeal is the denial of the business license application submitted by the applicant, Mozede Shakerizhaz, on behalf of Utopia Nexus Developments Limited and Par Spandar Holdings Inc. in relationship to applications for business licenses to operate at 776 Premier Street. The building located at 776 Premier Street is zoned General Commercial Zone 1A or C1A, which permits local commercial purposes. Local commercial purposes in the zoning bylaw means the retailing of groceries, produce, baked goods, and sundry household items, but excludes the retailing of alcoholic beverages. The proposed use of the applicant does not comply with these permitted uses prescribed in the C1A zone, bylaw regulations for business, nor does the proposed use appear to be legally non-conforming as described in the Local Government Act. It is therefore recommended by the Chief Bylaw Officer, Carol Walker, who is in attendance tonight with me, that the business license application submitted by Utopia Nexus Developments Limited and Parspandar Holdings, Inc. should be denied. The Chief Bylaw Officer, Carol Walker, is in attendance and available to answer questions. The purpose of the reports and tonight's proceedings is to provide the applicant an opportunity for council to reconsider in accordance with the requirements of Section 60 sub 5 of the Community Charter regarding the denial of the business license. And the applicant, I note, in addition to the staff report you have with you today, the applicant sent an email earlier today, which was distributed to Mayor and Council, providing their reasons for the request for the reconsideration, and staff are available to answer questions. Thank you, Your Worship.
Thank you very much. I'll be moving the staff recommendation. Is there a seconder? Seconded by Councillor Hanson. Just very brief in my comments. This is a non-compliant use for the zoning. If the applicant wishes to propose an alternative, they have the tools at their disposal to be able to apply for a temporary use permit or for a rezoning of the property. And that would be my recommended course of action for them. But at this time, the property is not intended for office use. It's intended to produce services in the neighborhood to help support the community. And so I will be supportive of upholding the denial of the business license in this case. Councillor Hanson, as the seconder, do you have any additional comments?
Just a couple of comments. I do seek to uphold the decision that has been put before us by staff. As was noted by Your Worship, the use does not comply with the permitted use. And it's also important to emphasize that the prior non-conforming use, this space was used for this purpose in the past, but that non-conforming use lapsed because the use was discontinued for a period of more than 6 months. So there is no basis upon which to assert a non-conforming use, and the applicant is of course free to pursue rezoning. And as you said, Your Worship, you would encourage them, and I would encourage them to do so. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I see no further speakers. I'm prepared to call the motion. Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much. Okay, next item up for discussion tonight is item 8.6. I see 9 o'clock. Maybe now is the time to have a bit of a bio break. I know that we try to have a bit of a break, a stretch every now and then about 9 o'clock. And so why don't we have 3 minutes leg stretch, washrooms are across the hall, and we'll resume the meeting after that time. I see a quorum of council, so I think I'm going to call this meeting back to order. All right, council, moving along with the agenda, we have item 8.6 up for consideration next. This is the 2024 audited consolidated financial statements. And checking to see with Mr. Danlick, do you have any comments on the matter?
Thank you, Your Worship. The audited financial statements for 2024 have been prepared by management and audited by KPMG. They've been reviewed with Council's Finance and Audit Standing Committee, and KPMG has provided an unqualified audit opinion, the best possible result. These statements are before Council for approval and will be included in this year's annual report. That's my report.
Thank you very much. I'll be moving the recommendation, seconded by Councillor Murray. Just my comment on the matter. I sit on the Standing Committee for Finance and Audit and chair it. And I will say that not only was it an unqualified opinion in support of our process, they were very complimentary at how easy our staff made it for KPMG to be able to do the work they did. And so I just wanted to pass along to our staff kudos from the auditors who get exposed to many other organizations as well. They had very positive comments to say about working with your team. So congratulations, Mr. Danlick, on that piece. I'll be supportive of the staff recommendation. Councillor Murray, additional comments? Thank you. Anyone else? Prepared to call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Next item is the filing under the Financial Information Act 2024 Statement of Financial Information, or the SOFI. And Mr. Daniluk, do you have any comments on this matter?
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a statement of financial information for 2024. It's a statutory requirement of the provincial government. It's been reviewed with Council's Finance and Audit Standing Committee, and it's before Council for approval.
Great. Thank you very much. Councillor Muir, you had a motion? Staff recommendation has been moved. Is there a seconder for the staff recommendation? Councillor Ma. Councillor Muri, do you have additional comments on the matter? Councillor Ma, any comments? No, I will just say that, you know, the perennial challenge I have with the SOFI is they've stuck with the same benchmark, I think, since about 2000, which was at $75,000 as a staff minimum. The purpose of the disclosure is to make sure that people see when high valued staff salaries are expanding within the organization. I think there's a measure of privacy that goes away when you reach that $75,000 threshold. Well, in 2000, there were very few wages that exceeded 75,000, and now it's the bulk of the organization that exceeds it. And so it means you can have a fairly entry-level position within the organization and have your finances disclosed as a part of the financial disclosure. And I find that to be unnecessary overreach into the privacy of our workers to have their name and wages plastered over. They should roll that number up to $100,000 or $120,000, something that targets the more executive and management level wages within the organization rather than potentially targeting frontline staff. That's not really the purpose of it. And so they should continue to move the benchmark up with inflation. And so I'm not happy with that standard. Having said that, I think that our staff have produced a report that is in compliance, and I will be supportive of the recommendation. Any other discussion on the matter? Prepared to call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Thank you very much, Council. Next item up for discussion is item 8.8. This is the 2024 Council Remuneration and Expenses. Again, we'll look to Mr. Daniluk for comment.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is a council remuneration filing requirement under the community charter. It's also a provincial filing requirement. This report will be kept at the Municipal Hall for public viewing for a period of 1 year. It will also be posted on our website under the Statement of Financial Information section. Additional information on remuneration for district council representation on regional boards and committees will be added to this report once it's received from TransLink and Metro Vancouver.
Been moved by Councillor Muri. Is there a seconder on the matter? Second by Councillor Back. Councillor Muri, any comments on it? Okay, Councillor Back, any comments as a seconder? Yeah, all I will just ask, it's strange to see a minor variance between the compensation for the different members of council. Is that just simply a feature, we'll say, of a calendar year ending on a particular day of the week, and therefore it creates minor changes in the compensation to the council members?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, prepared to call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Councillor Ma, I just wanted you to know why you were $7 less than everyone else. All right, next item up for discussion is item 8.10. This is the Living Donor Circle of Excellence. Oh, I missed 8.9, sorry. There we go. 8.9, this is the 2025 Centennial Bursary Awards. Do we have any comment from staff? Mr. Daniluk?
These bursaries are awarded to selected recipients graduating from high school within the North Vancouver School District. The report recommends following our current practice for funding these awards. It's a long-standing practice.
Thank you very much. It's been moved by Councillor Muri. Is there a seconder on the matter? Councillor Ma. Councillor Muri, any additional comments? Yeah. Councillor Ma, your comments?
Just a quick comment. It's great that the district can support the youth in our community this way, and I hope this fosters future leaders in whatever they do.
Great, thank you very much. My own comments on the matter, I know that relative to what a student incurs, this is a relatively minor support. But what I've always found interesting about it is that we try to target students that aren't otherwise getting significant scholarship opportunities. And so trying to diversify who's getting the support. It's been a really great program. I'm glad that we supplement the program in order to make it a much more useful amount of money, but I'll be supportive of the recommendation. Any other comments on the matter? Prepared to call the question. All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. And we'll get those. Just want to check back in, but I believe we'll be distributing those bursaries to the students before school year end, and then we announce their names in September typically. That's right. And so that's our normal annual process is we contact them and then we do a formal announcement of them sort of as they're starting their next school year in university in the fall. Now on to item 8.10. This is Living Donor Circle of Excellence. And I know this is an updated report from an earlier discussion. I see Ms. Walker here. Do you have a opening comment on the matter? Put your microphone on there.
Oh, sure.
Right in front of you.
Thank you through your worship. This evening, staff are reporting back on council direction for a policy to become a member of the Kidney Foundation Living Donor Circle of Excellence that provides wage support to employees wishing to become living donors. The report in front of you outlines existing district HR policies and a proposed framework which aligns with similar municipal programs and meets the requirements of the Living Donor Circle of Excellence program. Staff are looking for direction should council wish the district to join the Kidney Foundation Living Donor of Excellence program once the administrative policy is in effect. Thank you.
Mr. Back, your motion.
So I will move that the report is received for information and that council provides direction for the district to join the Living Donor Circle of Excellence.
Thank you. Okay, is there a seconder for the matter? Seconded by Councillor Ma. Councillor Ma, any other comments on it?
Yeah, that's a general comment. I support this.
I wasn't finished, Mike.
Oh, okay.
That was the motion so I was the mover, right?
There you go. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor Little. I again want to thank staff for bringing this back, responding to the motion that I brought forward regarding the district joining the Living Donor Circle of Excellence. This is a program that will support employees of the District of North Vancouver who may choose to become a living organ donor. I think we can all agree is a remarkable and selfless act. The initiative would require employers to provide at least 80% wage support for 4 weeks of recovery should somebody decide to become a living organ donor. And while the cost to our organization will likely be minimal, as on average, there are only about 15 living organ donors per million people in Canada. The impact could be enormous on donors, recipients, and their families. I just wanted to highlight how I was inspired to bring this motion about initially. It was by a friend of mine, Megan Owen Evans, who many of you may know as a successful business leader here on the North Shore. She's the president of Neptune Terminals. She's also an organ donor who anonymously donated one of her kidneys as well as part of her liver, and has since become just a tremendous advocate for the cause of living organ donation. Another powerful example and an inspiration to me on the North Shore here is Alexis Mackay-Dunn. You may recognize that name. There is a connection to former District Councillor Doug Mackay-Dunn, a West Vancouver mother who went public with her need for a kidney after being diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease shortly after having her second child. She is sadly now in need of another kidney. So a program like Circle of Excellence could indeed support her should a donor come forward that is a fit. So supporting this program, I believe, aligns with our values as being a caring and community-minded employer, and could one day support someone right here in our organization. So again, thank you to staff for bringing it forward as we move ahead with joining the Circle of Excellence.
Thank you, Councillor Ma.
Very similar comments. Thank you to Councillor Back for bringing this forward. I support this, and should a district staff decide to be a donor and improve or save someone's life, I think the district can support that. So thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Prepared to call the question? All in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Okay, next item up for consideration is item 811. This is the reducing water usage and water metering, and it is a council report from Councillor Back. Councillor Back, your opening comments, please. And a motion, please.
Thank you very much, Your Worship. I will move the recommendation and just getting the wording.
Seconded by Councillor Murray. Go ahead, Councillor Back.
Thank you. Mayor Little, the motion I'm bringing forward tonight is a motion asking staff to report back on opportunities to reduce water usage, as well as explore options, including estimated costs for implementing water metering across the District of North Vancouver. As our community grows and climate change intensifies, I believe we must act proactively to ensure sustainable and fair water use. Right now, we charge a flat water fee of $901.30, I believe, in 2025, regardless of how much water a household uses. This is a system that doesn't encourage conservation and is inequitable when low usage households are supporting high usage ones. Water metering is already in place. It's considered the best practice for water conservation by our own region, Metro Vancouver, which places charges based on actual usage, promoting fairness and conservation. In our region, we have municipalities like the District of West Vancouver, who achieved universal water metering back in 2007 and led to about a 44% reduction in water demand. In the city of Richmond, since 2018, all homes have had water meters, and most users have experienced significant savings in costs over the previous flat rate billing. There's lots of examples. Another one would be the township of Langley, who more recently implemented voluntary water metering and has had positive results so far. Evidence shows that metering helps residents track and manage their use, supporting long-term infrastructure planning and reducing the strain during peak demand periods. Our summers are getting hotter. We all know that, and demand is rising. So I think more than ever, conservation is critical. The next item on the agenda tonight, brought forward by my colleague, Councillor Hanson, proposes incentives for the use of rain barrels. And I believe this is another important conservation tool. Together, these two motions represent complementary approaches. Rain barrels help collect and reuse water, while metering encourages households to be mindful of their overall consumption. I want to note importantly that my motion isn't imposing immediate implementation by any means. It's simply asking staff to assess the feasibility, upfront cost, of which we know has been a barrier, I think, for this conversation in the past to move forward, and potential benefits of introducing water metering. If council chooses to move forward in implementation in the future, it would be important that any rollout be carefully planned. It's got to be equitable, minimizing unintended impacts and delivering clear value to our community. So the motion tonight is really about gathering the facts to make a smart, informed decision for the future of our community. And I want to thank everyone who's contacted us to share their feedback and thoughts on the proposal and in preparing for tonight. And I welcome the discussion from council. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And the seconder was Councillor Murray.
Thank you, Mayor Little. Yeah, we've had this conversation over the years. You know, many councils have had this conversation. When West Van put it in, and we did have, when Mayor Booth was Mayor of District of West Vancouver at Metro Vancouver, did present that, yes, there was an initial reduction in use when they implemented the water meters, but over time, the usage went back up again. It wasn't a sustained level of reduction. In Richmond, they started their program off with a voluntary compliance or voluntary option to begin their process to bring people into the program. Certainly new construction, I think should have the infrastructure, and I think that's something that we should look at. And when utilities are triggered, I think the benchmark is $300,000 now for improvements to the connections of our utilities to single-family homes. We could possibly look at that. But there is a cost to this. I think we need to look at a bit of a long game. because there's a cost to administration. There's certainly different systems that you can put in place. I spoke to the GM of Metro Water today about this issue, and there's lots to consider. There is a document that's included within the package, which is the best practices that Metro Vancouver encourages. And you're right, we have those summers. This year, we have a lot of snow on the mountains. My son was hiking up Seymour yesterday, and his running shoes were very wet, his hiking boots. There was a lot of snow up there. But we've had other years where we're below our level of the snowpack, and it's a concern. And we have to continue to warn people to make sure that they are using that water sparingly. We do get a lot of water throughout the year, though. We get a lot of rain. We don't have the capacity, is one of the biggest challenges. We'd have to dig out the watersheds and expand the watersheds. There is some of that that's going to happen in the Coquitlam watershed, but it is the capacity that is the challenge. You can go to the Cleveland Dam and watch the water fall over the dam. That happens a lot. We're letting our water go away because we cannot hold it. So we have to consider that too as this region expands. There would be a cost to the resident. There would be a cost to the municipality. And yes, it's true that the metering can detect leaks on private property. Then there's the leaks on public property. And we are, and Ms. Chevalier, certainly, pipe in with any additional thoughts, but we are going through a program. We've been going through this program for many, many years to replace our asbestos pipes. But we still have them, and we're still working through that. We go through a number a year, and the challenge is going to be the metering between the commercial and the residential, and then the leaks in between, and how do you deal with that? That water that's being used, who's paying for that? And that's part of the challenge around water metering. If we were all tight, if the pipes were all tight, then it would just be under the usage. But it's not the case because we're replacing aging infrastructure, and it takes time to do that. So lots of questions to be asked, lots of scenarios that our staff will bring forward for consideration. I think we look at a gradual program moving forward, maybe hit that new construction a little bit early, and continue to look at those best practices. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Murray. I'm just going to put my comments in here. I have an unpopular opinion around the Water Committee at Metro Vancouver on this particular issue. The challenge is that there's some complex information out there. It's not a supply problem that we have, it's a distribution problem that we have. We have 25 years of growth in the Capilano Reservoir right now in terms of additional water supply in that space. But by policy, we allow it to be a BC Hydro-led facility, and so the water is cast through the turbines rather than being kept for potable water supply. The real challenge that Metro's facing is the distribution issue, in that as areas in the southern part of the community grow and grow and grow, we don't have the piping infrastructure to be able to supply them with enough water. So it's not a supply problem, it's a distribution problem that we have. And so the challenge is you have to look at whether or not there's a real cost benefit analysis in this case. I think Ms. Chevalier could probably give us some basic costs about what it costs to create the chamber, the meter, and on an average house. And so what you would be expecting to pass along to residents for an average house.
Thank you through the mayor. Just very preliminary information for retrofitting a water meter on a residential house is about $2,000 in today's dollars. Sorry, yeah, about $2,000 if we're installing it when we do the service connection. If we were to go in and retrofit to just put in a meter, it'd be about $3,600. So there are some efficiencies if we were to install it at the time of service connection. Yeah,
And then you have to monitor, and then you have to have staff to manage monthly billing or different billing agreements for all of your residents. This was one of the biggest challenges that came out of West Vancouver, was instead of having just a touch point with your residents for when taxes are due or utilities are due, now you have to also have a touch point with your residents on your billing cycles in the community. The other challenge they had in West Vancouver was that while they were gung-ho about supporting a water metering program, they were not so happy when it also became where there was still a total cap or a ban on sprinkling, and their argument was that since everybody's paying for it, we're using a lot less, therefore we shouldn't have to have a ban on sprinkling. Well, the ban on sprinkling is brought in based on our current supply at that time. It has nothing to do with whether of the cost of the water. At that particular time, it's whether or not we have ample supplies for the remainder of the dry season. And so I know West Van has been supporting the metering side, but they've been fighting against the caps and bans because they feel that they're paying enough money into the system through the metering that they shouldn't have to have the bans, and the bans still need to be in place because that's when you have your shortage. So it's complex. The biggest benefit that you get right out of the gate is you get a better ability to detect leakage within the system. But we can already check for leakage at the neighborhood level. And you can tell whether or not they're over and above the normal consumption in that area and tell whether a leak exists within that space, rather than having to wait for Mrs. Jones to get a $15,000 bill and then having to correct it and figure out where the water went and all of the complexity that a municipality would have to sort out at that time. So while I'm happy to ask for additional information, and particularly on the first part, which is to say what other mechanisms we can put in place to better assist in water conservation, because I do think we have an obligation to be good stewards of our resources. I think that some of the supply issues are really policy related supply challenges, and that it's more a question of distribution to growing communities. That's the biggest immediate challenge for Metro Vancouver. So I'll be supportive of the motion, but I don't know that I'm sold on the actual benefits of going to metering versus just having a responsive system to deal with shortages in the supply. Councillor Hanson.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Back, for bringing this motion forward and addressing the issue of water conservation. Thanks to the members of the public who've spoken out on this issue, and to members of council who have let their views be known. I mean, obviously, if we could have water metering, that's an advantage. Water metering is a benefit to us. What needs to be considered is what's the cost of achieving that water metering, and does the benefit justify that overall cost? I mean, if the question that we would be asking district residents right now in this taxation climate and this economic climate is, would you like to spend $2,000 to $3,500 extra charge on your tax bill? I mean, I'm just paying a $3,300 utility levy that I have to pay by the end of May. But would I like perhaps to pay an extra, make a round figure, $3,000, pick a date sometime during the year so that I can get my water meter in place? I don't think, speaking personally at this point in time, now's the time, and I doubt that many district residents would say now's the time. But getting answers to that question as to what that actual cost is, obviously will assist us to make those determinations. The motion that's being brought forward wisely merely seeks information. I do believe, as Councillor Murray has mentioned, we should consider water metering in newly constructed homes. That would seem to be an incremental step. As I reflected on the issue as well, I also thought, what about having a charge for people who have swimming pools? That could be introduced immediately, wouldn't impose any charge. There's no cost to creating that policy, and would create a little bit more equity, because that's obviously a discrepancy in usage, people who have larger swimming pools. However, I look forward to the information coming back, and I do thank Councillor Back for bringing our minds to this important issue of water conservation. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pope.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Councillor Back, for bringing this forward. I support the motion. We know that when water metering is in place, as it is in many other municipalities, it helps reduce usage. We know that climate change will make our summers longer and hotter, and so reducing our water usage will help our community through times of drought. And it provides equity and fairness. It's not fair that a large family with a large lot with a lot of grass that needs a lot of watering, 4 bathrooms and laundry going every day and dishwashers going every night, that family pays the same as a retired pensioner living alone in their house. Water metering ensures that residents are billed based on actual consumption rather than flat rates. So that promotes fairness and encourages responsible water use. And for many residents, they will see a cost savings. So the cost of the meter will for many be offset by cost savings. We received an email this week from a resident, Duncan Wilcock, whose job actually involves monitoring infrastructure and finding energy cost savings. His firm was hired by the city of Kamloops to quantify the energy savings from introducing water metering back in 2016. Now, it found that water metering resulted in cost savings of about $150,000 a year. So Kamloops, since then, has had a total energy cost savings since 2016 of $2.5 million. Not adjusted for inflation even. Now, some residents have written us letters concerned about the implementation costs, and we're all worried about costs these days. But I expect that staff will provide us with options such as phasing in over time, or making it, one of the options could be, as Councillor Hanson has mentioned, that new builds are required to have that in place. We could provide incentives for water efficiency, such as offering water saving devices, maybe the rain barrels, rebates for water efficient appliances, and so on. But I would like to know more about the costs involved before making a decision moving forward. And it's important to note that this motion only asks staff to explore the costs and liabilities. We are not making a decision today on whether we will have water metering. And so therefore, I'm supportive of finding out more information and the facts so we could make an informed decision. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Ma.
Thank you, and thank you to Councillor Back. I do support staff looking into this. To me, it's about a fair user pay system and water conservation. I also want staff to look at, like other members of council said, the cost for implementation. And, of course, I think like also all members of council, we're concerned about the extra financial burden, especially caused by the Metro Vancouver's wastewater treatment plant. There's a lot of costs that people are dealing with now, and we need to be sensitive to that. But I do look forward to getting more information from staff. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Back.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mayor Little. I just want to thank everyone for their feedback on this. I recognize it is a complex issue, and so I value the opinions of those of you that have been around the table a little bit longer than I have. And I think it'll just be really good to have an informed discussion. And that's what we haven't been able to have so far, is really a detailed kind of report so we can do a proper kind of analysis on the costs and benefits of water metering. So again, thanks for your support.
Councillor Hanson, where's that from before? Can I speak full time? Yep. At my peril. No, I will just say, again, this is a frustrating thing because a lot of people reference the ROI on this or return on investment for this. So just giving the example, saving $150,000 a year for Kamloops, place with a population of over 100,000 people, it's $1.50 per person in savings per year. Do you know how long it takes you to pay off a $3,000 investment at $1.50 per person per year? But 2,000 years. So the ROI on it is just not there, right? In terms of cost savings. I will say that in our multifamily, we have one thing that wasn't covered in the report is that in multifamily, 60% of our multifamily is metered. That wasn't listed in the report. So it's not just industrial and commercial, it's all of our multifamily, the newer multifamily, but 60% of our existing multifamily is already on that. And it was invoked a couple of times that this is an equity and fairness piece. I don't know how you can get to the conclusion that it's equity and fairness when you're making it so that only the wealthy can afford to have gardens and lawns and other things in the community. And that's ultimately what it'll be, is the cost per liter will go dramatically higher than it currently is at the bulk rates that we have. And eventually you'll be in the situation that West Van has talked about, where since you're paying the bill, and if you can afford the bill, you're going to go and do what you're comfortable with, or what's comfortable within your home economy. I don't see the equity and fairness in that. I'd much rather see restrictions brought in based on evidence when we, not just the arbitrary May 15th or May 1st or whatever one that we bring in for level 1, but the level 2 is brought in based on our consumption, the ARC, and the amount of water supply that's left. I'd like to see more of those kinds of evidence-based models. And so I have some challenges with it, but I'm glad we're getting additional information. So I'll be supportive. I call the question on the matter, unless anyone wants to retort that. Okay, all right, call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. We have a speaker for item 812 sitting very patiently after I was a little confused and rude. I apologize earlier, but thank you for your patience this evening, and you are welcome to comment on the matter. You have 3 minutes to address the council.
Thank you very much, Mayor Little. With respect to my submissions, having heard you all speak about water metering, I somewhat modified my thinking, but I haven't had the time to annotate my comments very thoroughly. So good evening, Mayor Little and council members. My name is Archie Carey. I've lived at 294 West Rockland Road for the last 35 years. Now, water is the essence of life on our planet, as I'm sure you'll all agree. And how do we meaningfully and immediately address water supply issues in a time of climate change? Our local January snowpack levels have been below historical levels for the last 7 years, with the only exception being in 2022 when it was at 103%. In this context, we have lower water levels, snow levels, pardon me, in 2024 was 36%, and the next lowest was 57% in 2020. There are serious problems with our climate and the availability of water, notwithstanding, with due respect what you're saying, Mayor Little. It's going to become more complicated to rely on the snowpack. Our district's population is on the steady rise, as it should be. Our average temperature is on the rise. Moisture levels, temperature levels, and population levels all rising point to a water supply crisis at some point in the future. In this context, water metering to help monitor and control water consumption may be inevitable. I ask you, how does District Council provide leadership in helping to mitigate the inevitable slide into less and less water being available on a per capita basis from the conventional system? Although it is not intended for direct human use, a water collection and storage system that is provided by rain barrels as one clear and cost-effective way to plan for the future and empower the occupiers of property with an option for managing their water consumption to help keep the North Shore green and resistant to fires. A further essential value of the water barrels is to help ensure the aquifers are healthy by keeping the water out of the storm sewer system. This in turn ought to meaningfully enhance stream flow in our local streams by keeping them more regular and less prone to flooding, which in turn helps maintain stream biodiversity. The barrels ought to be in 2 different formats, from input I have received and that all councilors have received. Downspout connecting and freestanding. Freestanding placement could be in such locations as the corner of a driveway that is not needed for any purpose. In conclusion, the rain barrels provide an opportunity for the district to assist residents to participate in climate change mitigation, along with offsetting the expense associated with water metering, which may well be put in place at some time in the future. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much. Okay, the motion is a council report from Councillor Hanson, so I'll look to you for a motion.
Yeah, I move that staff report back on options for encouraging the use of rain barrels in the district.
Thank you. Seconded by Councillor Murray. Councillor Hanson, your comments on the matter.
Yeah, thank you very much. And thank you, Mr. Carrio, for your comments and for your support of rain barrels in the district. This motion is consistent with Councillor Back's motion in spirit anyway on water metering, and that it seeks to reduce water use in the district. Summers, as was stated by Councillor Pope and her comments about water meters, are getting hotter and hotter. Winters are getting wetter and wetter with more intense rain events. Rain barrels offer the district a way to collect some of this deluge that falls in the winter and store it for use in gardens in the hot, dry days of summer. This can increase greenery, reduce fire risk, and enhance aquifer health, as was pointed out by Mr. Carrio. My vision would be for the district to purchase rain barrels in bulk at the best possible prices and make these available to residents on a cost recovery basis. The district as well could contribute to a simple distribution method for these rain barrels using many of the resources that we already have in place. I believe all of this could be done at minimal cost, certainly much cheaper than water metering, and with much benefit in terms of water conservation and ecological health. From my point of view, this is a way of supporting residents, encouraging residents, and standing with them in the journey of water conservation. Doesn't need to be heavy-handed. It's on a participation basis, only people who want to participate. But I do believe if we can, and Mr. Carrio is leading the charge here, and as I say, I thank him for it. If we can expand the number of water barrels across the district, collect that water in winter and spill it out onto our gardens in summer, I believe we're rendering a significant benefit to ecology and to water conservation. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Muir, you were seconder on the matter. Do you have additional comments?
Yes, thank you, Mayor Little. So thank you, Councillor Hanson, for bringing this forward. I did look into this issue of rain barrels, and the City of Vancouver actually has had a rain barrel program for many, many years that they offer to any municipality in the region that wants to take part. And in 2016, they actually had a program where you can order a rain barrel and they delivered them to Ambleside for pickup. The other location that you can use is in the Tri-Cities in Coquitlam, and then at Van Dusen Gardens in Vancouver. And but they have eliminated the Ambleside pickup, and I've reached out and I did not hear back prior to the meeting, so I'm going to I'll bring that information forward. The rain barrels sit at $52. They order a certain amount a year, and it's a pre-order, and actually the pickup for this year was yesterday, May 6th. And so there is an active program that already exists in the region that the City of Vancouver hosts. They manage it, and anyone has the ability to purchase a discounted rain barrel from them. A retail cost for a rain barrel, Canadian Tire, Home Depot, Rona's about $100, $110, depending on the type that you get. So I'm not sure that we actually need to reinvent a program with the municipality. We can certainly promote it. We could put it on our website. We could provide a link for where people can, you know, pre-order for next year. I have a townhouse. I've lived in a townhouse. I used to have a big yard. I had a 12,000 square foot lot, a massive garden. I did have a pool. Now I live in a townhouse, and I would say I have an extensive garden in my townhouse. And over the summer, it's already dry. It's been dry this week. We had some rain, but it's starting to become dry again. I don't know how long a rain barrel would last me. It would be sort of one application until it rained again and filled up. It takes a while for a rain barrel to fill up. So although I think it's, it's an addition to one's garden, I'm not sure if it's going to be the real tool to offset fire risk or to have long-term sustainability with watering your garden, because it needs to be replenished. And so I offer that as something to consider. But I do think that there's an opportunity to reach out to the city of Vancouver, ask why they discontinued the drop off in Ambleside, and ask if we can't resurrect that, where they would deliver their barrels. I'm not sure exactly how it worked, but it was something that did exist not too long ago. It may be that there was not a big uptake in the rain barrels, but I don't think we need to reinvent this administratively within the district if the program already exists and other municipalities are using the host of Vancouver to accommodate this need. So I'll reach out to my colleagues in the city of Vancouver and get more information.
I suspect one of the changes is that, you can now have one of these delivered to your house through Amazon for $50. And so delivered to your door, so you don't have to do an extra trip.
But we're trying to buy Canadian. We're trying to support local organizations that create. There are some nonprofit organizations that actually provide rain barrels, and they are local. So we want to look at that.
Yeah, I'm all for not duplicating process. I just again, just to sort of put out there some of the concerns with these programs is they don't provide you water when you need it necessarily. And if you're managing a small garden, having a rainbow barrel may assist you in a particular application, but in most cases, it doesn't have any water in it when you have a drought. It runs through it. So let's say you have 100-liter capacity in it and you have a garden. You'll be using it theoretically in the 1 or 2 weeks from the time that the rains stop. It's not going to help you, 15 weeks, 20 weeks into the drier season. And so I don't know that it's a big difference. It happens to also be generally at a time when we're still receiving fresh water into our dams, and our dams actually have the spillway open long after we've actually received our last rains, because they're still receiving water from snowpack and other things over that time. And so we're maybe not the best example of it. Rain barreling may work very well in places that are tropical, that have bands of rain with short breaks of dry in between and bands of rain throughout the course of the year, in which case then they have a ready supply for a short period of time. But with our pattern, I don't know that that's necessarily beneficial. And so again, I really wouldn't want to go out and buy a whole bunch of plastic barrels just to find out that the program wasn't actually attractive or what people wanted to do in our community. So I think that if staff are looking at this, then maybe you start a trial, maybe you partner with an organization that's already providing them. But again, does the government have to be the solution to all of these problems? The median income in our community is about $123,000 a year. The barrel's $50. If people want to do it, they can do it already within those costs. If they're a homeowner, then they're probably at the high end of that median household average, and could definitely afford the $50 to be able to put the barrel in. So I don't know that the government needs to be the solution to all of these things. I think that we should advertise it on our website. We should make it available. Maybe we recommend a supplier that has something that fits fairly well in our environment, but be prepared to receive 100% of those barrels into your waste stream within 20 years. They're going to end up at the dump. They're going to end up deteriorated, and we're going to have to process them. So again, mixed benefits on it, but I look forward to getting additional information. Any other comments on the matter? Call the question. All those in favor? Contrary minded? Motion is carried. Okay. Thank you, Council, for completing the business of this evening's meeting. I do think we have a short, but we do have an opportunity for reports if people would like to make them. I have a rather serious one to address right out of the gate. We last week had a very terrible tragedy in Vancouver with the Lapu Lapu Festival and the terrible incident that occurred with a driver driving through a public event for the Filipino community more broadly. A number of the people that were killed were actually from the District of North Vancouver. I won't go into the details of who they are, but know that we have reached out to them, and it's a very, very tragic story. It also has all of our communities relooking at how we manage public events with the possibility that somebody can drive a vehicle through a space. And so we'll have to look at our public spaces where we invite people to come out and see what modifications need to take place to protect them from that possibility, which in many places, it would be extremely hard to have bollards out everywhere and protect people. And so we really have to go back to the province and say, when people are known to have had these kinds of challenges and have been threats to the public, that we need decisive action to protect the public from those kinds of risks. And so it's a terrible tragedy. I feel so bad for the family that's lost so many in our right here in the District of North Vancouver, and also for the broader Filipino community that use this as a great way to get together and share their culture and share their food, that is now affected this kind of an event forever going forward. So on behalf of the council, I just wanted to express our deep sorrow for that family, and we'll do what we can to protect our citizens going forward from those kinds of dangers. Would anybody else like to make a report? Councillor
Ma? Thank you, Mayor Mike. This Saturday, if you're looking for something to do, the public library is holding a Meet Your Library Trustee event from 11 to 2 p.m. at the Lynn Valley Library. Hopefully that maybe activate the Lynn Valley Plaza. Also on Saturday is the Deep Cove Sailing Club Sail Pass that's happening. So looking forward to participating in that community event. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Back.
Thank you. I just wanted to report on my attendance at the annual Lower Mainland Local Government Association conference last week. There were some very interesting sessions, one around leadership in crisis that included the fire chief from West Kelowna, talking about how the community dealt with the fires there and communicated and spoke honestly to the media about the fact that they didn't have all the answers when they were in the midst of it. So some interesting feedback, ideas coming out of that. There was also a session on the trade war impacts on local governments, as well as a very interesting session on different engagement strategies, featuring a number of different municipalities. Also lots of interesting resolutions passed, including a right to cool motion from the City of Vancouver about cooling in multifamily buildings. And I also willingly put my name forward to be a director at large and was elected. So I'll be looking forward to representing the members and serving in the year ahead.
Congratulations. I was a director at large for LMLGA probably back in about 2006, and then was the Metro rep for LMLGA in about, I don't know, probably 2012 as well. It's a great organization, provides a great opportunity for both advocacy for local issues to higher levels of government, coordination of issues amongst all of our member municipalities throughout the 3 regional districts, and frankly, it's just a fun organization to work with because of the social aspect of it as well, getting to know your neighbors, and that's one of the big benefits of the LMLGA. So congratulations on your election to Director at Large. Other members of council wishing to make a report? Okay. Well, sorry, I probably should say on the LMLGA one as well. I had the pleasure of participating in the roundtable with BC Hydro. BC Hydro has some rate changes that are coming up, or a new structure for new developments. It used to be that new multifamily developments, thinking in that like 4 to 6 story range and up, used to have to pay for their electrical connection and infrastructure all the way back to the distribution system. BC Hydro is coming up with a new proposal that will make it so that they only have to pay for the local connection, and that the rest of it is funded through rates. They believe that this will result in faster responses to producing connections for multifamily in the community. I argue that we'll have to wait and see whether it is. I would think that the current system where the developer is paying the fees to expedite the process would actually produce things quicker. But that was one of their assertions in the meeting, was that they believe that the new model will result in faster connections for new developments going forward, rather than some of the cases that we've seen, Delbrook being an example of one that took a year to get the BC Hydro permit for that space. So hopefully that change produces good results and makes it so that developments aren't held up because the electrical supply to that area is insufficient for the development. Okay, anyone else for reports? Hearing none. Thank you so much for everyone's participation. I'll accept adjournment. Moved by Councillor Muri, halfway out the door. Accepted. Thank you very much to the members of the public for participating in this evening's meeting. Thank you to staff for preparing the reports for our consideration. Everybody have a fantastic night. Good evening.